right.
Welcome.
Welcome.
It's been a
minute.
It's been a minute. That's what they say nowadays. Welcome back, everybody. Before we start today's show, very quickly, today's show is sponsored by the law offices of Armand Grigorian. If you've been involved in a car accident and you need an attorney to represent you, contact Armand Grigorian. He's a personal car accident injury attorney. He's one of those attorneys that basically provides his cell phone number for you just in case you need to reach him. And if it's on a weekend, if it's on a weekday, doesn't matter what it is. If he can answer his cell phone, he will answer the call. His direct cell phone number, 818-404-0333, 818-404-0333. Armand Grigorian, accident attorney. And you actually had a funny story about why he shares his cell phone number, right?
Yeah. So imagine you're sitting down with the guys, right? It's like Friday night. You're having cigars, scotch, and Armenian guys, we tend to have debates and arguments, and we make bets, right? I bet you, the Ferrari 458 is faster than the Pista, and it's faster than the whatever Lamborghini Huracan. So these guys are having a bet about, I bet you when you're involved in a car accident, this is what you're supposed to do, and this is what you get paid on, and if you don't have insurance. And one of the guys sitting there says, listen, guys, yeah, let's make the bet. But I'm going to call my personal injury attorney right now on his cell phone, and we'll see who wins the bet. His personal attorney happens to be Armand Grigorian, calls him on his cell phone on a weekend evening, like around 10:30, 11 p.m. Armand picks up the phone. Hey, Armand, listen, we're sitting here with the guys. We just made a bet. Here's the situation. In this situation, who's right? He says, well, according to law, this is who is right. So he ends up winning the bet because he called this personal injury attorney and he answered the phone and he ends up winning the bet. So moral of the story is what? If you're involved in a car accident, even if it's in the middle of the night, you have access to him 24/7. Don't call him asking him who he thinks is the GOAT of basketball, or call him for serious questions, serious concerns. Even if you're involved in an accident, you don't know what to do, call his personal cell phone. He'll pick up the phone and you can ask him, okay, I was just involved in a car accident. What do I need to do? And he'll give you instructions and directions on what to do. Again, Armand Grigorian, phone number is 818-404-0333. Very easy number to remember. Write it down on your cell phones. Save it under your favorites. God forbid you're ever involved in a car accident, he's your man.
Definitely. Well, we've been gone for quite some time now, and it's finally great to be back. And a lot of shit happened while we were gone.
Bro, a lot of shit. You're talking about historic.
A lot of shit, really? Is that how we're going to describe this?
Potential presidential nominee assassination attempt.
Yeah. I mean, I made that short little snippet as far as on IG. It was, bro, it's like we go on vacation. This guy gets on the plane. All of a sudden, there's an attempted assassination on Trump. Biden drops out. Harris replaces it. Harris picks some random radical leftist. Glendale decides to put 900 miles of bike lanes
for $500 million.
For $500 million. I mean, it's just like we're texting each other. We're like, bro, Armand, why don't you just come back and I'll cancel my vacation as well. We can just do a show. But I'm like, if we're gonna be doing the show, I mean, there was like one person that literally came to mind, and I was like, I think that would be the perfect guest to join us, which was Dr. Alex Balekian, who is running for Congress, District 30. And the reason why I say Alex would be the ideal guest is because, number one, he's heavily involved in what's going on, not only in District 30, but I mean, you've been on Fox News and you're watching what's going on in the country, which is why I'm assuming kind of gave you the uprising as far as, all right, you know what, something needs to be done regarding not only our district, but in the country itself. So I want to thank Alex for taking time out of his Monday to join us.
Thank you.
You want to tell us a little bit about your background? Because you were with us, when was it? I think it was like almost 2 years ago, right? The first time he was with us?
2 years?
I think so.
No, it's
I think
August 20, maybe a year ago. I forget. We started the campaign May of 2023. We're now in August 2024. It may have been August 2023. I'm not sure.
Was it? Okay.
I cannot remember. I'm sure there's a internet sleuth who can figure it out. But I will
Possibly.
reintroduce myself to the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Dr. Alex Balikian in Glendale, born and raised. I'm a practicing physician in the community. I am also your candidate running for U.S. House, California District 30, which is the seat that Adam Schiff is vacating after 22 years. So for all of the Armenian people listening at home, if you live in Glendale, Burbank, Sunland, Tahunga, Hollywood, West Hollywood, Silver Lake, Hancock Park, Echo Park, this is the first time in 22 years that you will have a real chance of electing an Armenian, one of your own, to represent you. We have a grand total of 0 Armenians in Congress. Meanwhile, Azerbaijan is buying their own representatives for $500,000 a pop. If you are not Armenian, I am the fiscally responsible, socially sane candidate who is here to block my proud progressive opponent, Laura Friedman, from taking her California cancer and her progressive policies onto a national stage. I am the candidate of public safety, and she is a threat to public safety, and I'm sure we'll discuss more as the podcast goes on.
You were with us July 31st of last year,
Oh,
2023.
Wow, it's been over a year.
Just a little over a
Just
year.
over a
Yeah.
year.
But I mean, look, you're a successful physician, right? Pulmonologist, trauma
Mhm.
physician as well, right?
Yep.
You got everything going for yourself.
Yep.
Why throw your hat in and run for Congress? And I mean,
Because I reached my breaking point. We are at this point because we lived our lives, we raised our families, and assumed that somebody else would govern on our behalf and in our best interest, but that has proven not to be the case. So rather than waiting for the good candidate, I'm going to be that good candidate who espouses our traditional immigrant values, right? Hard work, home and family first, quality education for the kids, build your American dream, leave something for the community. And I want to lead by example and kind of energize everybody and say, okay, we need to make a change, and I'm going to be that change.
good for you, because look, that's the thing. Everybody wants change, but nobody wants to be the change. It's like, well, so let somebody else do it. Okay, who? Why aren't you getting involved? Why? Even if you're not, obviously, not everybody can run for office, especially for
Everybody can run for office.
No, I mean, look, it takes a certain mental capacity, know how to be able to, especially for Congress. Well, you laugh as if you're.
There's arguably mental capacity right now in the Oval Office.
Well, yes, Joe
Arguably.
Biden, yes, Joe Biden, our president Biden, has kind of lowered the standards just a little bit over the last 3.5, 4 years.
Which we'll get into.
But look, at the end of the day, it's a risk, because you're pretty much exposing yourself. Now, they can talk about your personal life. They can, publish so many articles and stories about you that are mostly going to be false,
Mhm.
right? As we see what's going on with, other, especially presidential candidates like Trump.
Right.
So and I think that's what a lot of people are intimidated by is, okay, well, if I'm going to throw my hat in, well, what's the pros and cons? What am I sacrificing, risking for? What's the reward? But the reward is the community. It's the future of our kids. It's the future of our families and everything that we've worked so hard for to sustain. Like you said, right? It seems like that American dream is no longer exists. That's what, as a father of 2 boys, that's my biggest concern today. Is that will my boys ever be able to accomplish what they want? Will they be able to own a home, own the type of lifestyle they want, which is, work, travel a little bit, be able to go out to restaurants and, just enjoy the fruits of your labor. And the way things are going, I don't think they're going to be able to do any of that. And that scares me, because I'm seeing the pinch on myself.
Mhm.
As far as what I'm capable of doing now, because it's changing. It's like, I remember when I was 20 years old, which is not, it was only
5 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say 2, but yeah. You thought, well, if I only had $1 million, man, that you can invest that money, you can retire with it. Not $1 million. You're like, okay, maybe I could open a pizza joint, work 90 hours a week, and make $7,000 a month. It's like, what am I doing, right?
Right.
So
And
that's
barely
why
make ends meet.
that's why I applaud you for literally, like, you have everything going for yourself, and now you're in this uphill battle for our community, for our county, for our country. You're fighting, and for our culture,
Mhm.
the Armenian culture too.
Right.
Because if for us to have the first Armenian congressman, you would be the first,
That is correct.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's a big deal, man.
It is a huge deal. So I want to touch on a couple of points that you went through during what you said. First and foremost, a lot of people, I was not aware of this, but somebody told me he was high Astansi, and he said, oh, high Astansis don't vote because the government's going to come after you based on how you voted. And it was alien to me that somebody would think that the government knows how you vote. But I guess people think that. They say, oh, they know who I voted for. So if I vote for Trump, then they're going to knock him down and they're going to come after everybody who supported him. And what I want to do is dispel two myths. Number one, the government doesn't know how you vote. We know whether you turned in a ballot, yes or no. We know whether you participated, but we don't know how you participated, number one. Number two, you do not get called to jury duty if you vote. No, you laugh,
Yeah.
but the reason I say this is because you two are the target demographic, the Armenian bro.
Right.
Okay. The Armenian bro up to age 45, right? Who doesn't participate because he just doesn't want to get involved, doesn't want to go to jury duty. And those are the prototypical low propensity or no propensity voters that we need to bring out. How are we going to win this election? We're going to, quote unquote, fabricate votes. When I say fabricate, we're not going to create people out of thin air, but we are going to inspire voters who never would have been expected to vote. And so their participation is not in the calculus of the opposing party. So it is incumbent upon us to bring those people out to vote, and that will make or break my candidacy. That is number one. Number two, something else that you touched on is, now it just escaped my mind. Oh yes, people are watching and they're saying, "Oh my God, this is great that you're doing this on our behalf." You at home, you need not be a spectator. You need to be a participant. I am a single person going out there. I'm going to put my vote in on November 5th. I need everybody else watching this plus 20 people per audience member to vote for Alex. And that's the only way that we're going to do this. So you need to stop being an observer, and you need to start being a participant.
And you know what's sad is well, that philosophy or mentality that you mentioned about, well, if I vote, somehow the government's going to know who I voted for. They're going to come after me. That comes from, because you mentioned Hayastats, it comes from where we grew up. We lived, we grew up in Armenia, lived under Soviet regime, right? So, and that was the philosophy, the upbringing, that if you voted a certain way or if you had certain beliefs, then the government was going to come after you, which had some truth to it.
Correct.
Back then. Now, what we also experienced when Otto and I were, fighting against the GUSD the last couple of years and during the protests and all that, what we realized is so many. I mean, we would attend all of these coffee with the superintendent meetings, right? With the superintendent back then, Vivian Exian. And so many parents weren't present.
Right.
And not only were they not present, but they would talk shit behind us, like, oh, these guys, who do they think they are? They think they're administrators.
No, they called us spies.
Yeah, attending these school board meetings and school parent meetings. No, we're attending so that we can gather information and be able to bring that information to parents to understand, okay, how do we overcome these obstacles? And when we discussed it with parents, like, listen, your kid goes to this ABC school, right? Why don't you attend the meeting? It's only an hour and a half. Yes, obviously, I don't have the nerves or the time. Yeah, but if your girlfriend invites you to Starbucks, you go sit there for 3 hours, drink your cappuccino and bullshit, talk about Instagram for 3 hours. But you don't have an hour to spare at your kid's school to understand, okay, is there any transparency between the school board, between the superintendent and my school, the superintendent, the administration, the teachers? We need to start caring more and not just think, well, I can't make a difference. I'm only one person.
People rather complain than take action. That's what we've noticed a lot, and that needs to change.
Yeah, absolutely, because you have to be the change. And we've talked about this a million times. Like when your kids ask you 20 years from now, Mom, Dad, what did you do when all this mess was happening? Nothing. We just we sat down, we watched our whatever series is on, let's say Breaking Bad or what's the other one, Game of Thrones or whatnot.
Mhm.
You know, we were busy with Netflix. We didn't have time to attend your school board meetings or participate in city council meetings. No. And now that's why,
We're in the
son,
mess that we're in.
yeah, son, you have to wear a tampon
Yep.
now.
Well, remember, city count. I said this previous episodes before. City councils and school boards used to be run by the people, especially school boards. It was somebody's aunt, somebody's uncle. City council meetings, again, somebody's brother, somebody's dad. It was very non-political, but it was political at the same time. Now it's more of a, how can I be in this position to make my way up the political ladder in order
Right.
to get to X position? Because Laura Friedman used to be a city council member. And then she mayor at one point as well in Glendale?
Yeah, it's a rotating mayorship. So if you're there long enough, you'll get it.
rotating mayorship, a glorified mayor, basically. And well, that's what it is. But anyways, and then she made her way up the political ladder. Now she's climbing another, or attempting to climb another peg. But I mean, that's what it was. We need to go back to what it was before, and it was people caring about the actual city. Now nobody really gives a shit about the city. It's all about, how can I make my way up the political ladder.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically what it is, which is why I commend you for doing what you're doing, because, as Armand said, as a physician, you can continue doing what you're doing and eventually ride off into the sunset.
Right.
But you're sick and tired of it, and you're digging your feet into the dirt, and you're saying, you know what, you're a giant democratic socialist progressive machine, come at me, bro.
Right.
And with the help of everybody locking arms with you and digging our feet into the dirt, when that machine comes to us, and if we're all braced together, we can take it on, man.
Yes. And so one of the reasons why I did run is because I am not cancelable. And, Armand, you were saying how people, they're afraid that to have a target on their back and actually to stick their neck out. I, at the time, right, I still am an intensive care physician, but people are always getting sick and dying. I will always have job security. I cannot get canceled. And that's one of the big reasons why I said I can stick my neck out without fear of retribution. But what you were saying, Arno, as far as people locking their arms, and I'm going to speak now directly to the audience members at home, there are 84 days left until this election. You don't have to leave your house. What you can do is get on our website to volunteer, because we need people to call other Armenians, especially older Armenians, to let them know we have one of our own, Alex Balikian, running for Congress. We want you to vote. We will help you vote. When the ballots come, we will come to your house and help you fill it out and take it from you. This is how we're going to win, is by doing ballot harvesting, and Armenians will not give their ballots to total strangers. So anybody who's looking at home, you can help out with 1 hour per day of phone banking with us. We have the numbers of all 60,000 Armenians in the district who are eligible to vote. We just need people to call on our behalf and say, hi, I'm Arno. I'm calling you because Alex is one of our own, et cetera, and we're going to help you vote in October when the ballots come out. We need to send one of our own to Congress.
This is the one time where I'm for you looking at an IAN or YAN last name and bubbling in the name.
Yeah, one of the very few times.
One of the very few times. But I mean, we're okay with it. So if grandma and grandpa get the ballots and they say, you know what, who am I going to vote for? And they see the YAN, let them do it. Let them do it.
Yes.
It's not like what it was last council.
And put on your glasses, because my opponent's last name is not Friedman. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Look, it's truly a remarkable time, because, like you said, Adam Schiff, after 22 years, is finally leaving his seat.
Right.
Because if he wasn't leaving his seat, it's almost an impossible seat to win. So we truly have an opportunity. This really is an opportunity for us to put one of our own in that seat. And we cannot allow for this not to take place. We have to do whatever we can for Alex Balikian to be our next congressman for District 30. I mean, look, guys,
I mean, isn't it a no-brainer? It's like everybody's been talking, hey, what are we going to do to change things, right? Well, we have the candidate right here.
absolutely.
You know what I mean?
I mean, do it for your children. Do it for those stupid bicycle lanes, trying to get them reversed. Okay. I mean, there's so many reasons why. Do it for all of the break-ins that have been occurring in Glendale. Do it for all the homeless people that you see now that you never used to see. This is why you're doing it. You do it for your kids. You do it for safety, for public safety. We have one chance. This is the first chance that we had in 22 years. We're not going to have another chance in 22 years. I'll probably be like Sleepy Joe Dementia Biden in 22 years.
Well, very quickly, District 30. Can you give us the district, the cities in that district, so
Yes.
the people who are watching understand that? All right, you know what? District 30. What city am I in? Does it fall in that
Yes.
district?
So District 30 is the entirety of Glendale, Burbank, Hollywood, West Hollywood, Sunland, Tahunga, Hancock Park, Echo Park, Silver Lake, and the Rose Bowl area of Pasadena. But it's the entirety of Glendale, Burbank, Sunland, Tahunga, Hollywood, West Hollywood, Silver Lake, Echo Park, and Hancock Park.
So it's the Tri-City, basically, almost.
Right.
Yeah.
60,000 Armenians. I need 170,000 votes to win this. 60,000 Armenians, they will make it or break it. The Armenians alone won't allow me to win, but they will definitely make it or break it.
how has the feedback been with the non-Armenians within that district?
So feedback has been great. Again, I say this is no longer Democrat versus Republican. This is progressive versus non-progressive. And last 2 weeks, we had unexpectedly Democrats, and Democrats contribute to our campaign. And I call them, there was one guy, Democrat, Jewish, from Atwater Village, apparently knows Laura Friedman personally. And I called him, I said, what prompted you to vote? And he says, I know Laura Friedman personally, and I asked her how she could vote yes on AB 1955, which is, for the people at home who don't know, a teacher in your children's school can talk to your child and change their gender, change their pronouns, and not have to tell you, and they are legally protected by the law. That is AB 1955. It was signed into law by Gavin Newsom, and my opponent, Laura Friedman, voted for it. So this man said, I asked her, how could you justify keeping secrets like that? He says, how can you justify authoring Prop 5, which is going to increase our property taxes, our rents, just to waste more money on homeless affordable housing? How do you justify that? He says, she didn't give me a satisfactory response, so I just went online and I Googled Laura Friedman opponent, and there you were. And he donated to our campaign.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's remarkable.
So there is a palpable discontent, and that is why our slogan for the general election is progressive isn't working. You may have seen our billboards off of the 101. Progressive isn't working. We also say ideas over identity politics. And this is also going for, don't vote for the IN or the YN. Vote not for the identity of the candidate, but for the candidate who espouses the ideas that are going to make your life better, because arguably our lives are not better than they were 3.5 years ago.
Yeah, because when you look at it, Adam Schiff has been in this seat for how many years again? 22
years.
22 years. Laura Friedman
She'll be here for another 22 years, easily.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
She's just another puppet in this entire political game.
Correct.
So if you're happy with the way Glendale, Pasadena, and this entire neighborhood, District 30, is being ran with the Progressive Party, by all means, go ahead and vote. But if you want change and if you want something different, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. And if, again, and I'm not saying that you won't do anything, but how many years are you going to be sitting there until the next election? It'll be 4 years, right?
Every 2 years we get reelected.
2 years.
But once you get elected as an incumbent, you develop this momentum that is difficult to, you start establishing roots and you start having this momentum that is difficult to thwart. I'll tell you the story of Mike Garcia. So Mike Garcia, who is the congressional representative from Simi Valley, he won a special election again. So there was no incumbent. It was an open seat because the woman who was there had some sexual scandal with one of her staffers, and she resigned in shame. So he ran against another Democrat, won by 333 votes. in a district of 500,000 people.
Wow.
That's a close call.
That's a close call. The same two people ran not even 2 years later at the next election. He won by a much more definitive, probably by around 7 or 8% margin. So once you're there and you establish roots, it is exceedingly difficult to unseat an incumbent. And because the Constitution does not put in term limits, once somebody is there, they stay there as long as they want to. And you have somebody like Dianne Feinstein, Lady Diane, I call her, because like royalty, she died in her seat. Literally died in her seat, right? These are not monarchs. They should not die on the throne like that. So they should be voted at, or they should have term limits where they leave and then another person can take their place.
Which goes back to what I was mentioning. I was saying, God willing, you get that seat, you win that seat, and you sit there. I promise you, in 2 years, you're going to see a change in this district. The reason why you're going to see the change is because you have somebody different sitting in that seat. You have somebody with different mindsets, different beliefs, somebody who wants the best for the district.
And you set the pace. I want to be a role model for younger Armenians who want to get involved, who don't want their life to be, oh, I'm going to buy my Beamer or my Bentley, and that's going to be the pinnacle of my life. No, we need to get involved, and I would like to be that role model.
For sure, because how else has, I mean, if we look at it from an Armenian standpoint, right? The fact that geopolitically where we're located and how we complain about, well, Turkey's part of NATO and Azerbaijan attacks, the U.S. does nothing, and so on and so forth. There's so much support for Israel, no support for Armenia. Why? Because they're involved in politics.
Mm-hmm. Right.
How many Armenians are involved in politics?
And it's not just that. I've heard people say that in Washington, D.C., Armenians are very predictable. They are single-issue voters. Right. Or a single-issue lobby. What is their single issue? Genocide.
Genocide.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not, oh, let's have better geopolitical relations with Armenia. It's not, let's get Turkey out of NATO. It's genocide. Big deal. Joe Biden said it. You have your genocide. Big deal.
Yeah.
Right. So one of my first moves will be to say, again, there is palpable discontent of sending all of our tax dollars to NATO to fund their defense. We have Turkey that has blackmailed the United States for their F-16 fighter jets. We have Turkey that has said, oh, based on how they're going, supporting Israel, we're going to go ahead and attack them. An ally who gets all of our money shouldn't be talking to us, saying that they're going to attack us. So I think it is high time, and it is very fertile time to say that we are going to wind down NATO, starting with Turkey. And that would be one of my first bills that I propose. And I think the timing is excellent. If not to expel them from NATO, then at least to send them a very clear message of, we are not going to tolerate your shenanigans. We are not going to send you our money, our tax dollars, and have you act the way you're acting.
Absolutely. Because Adam Schiff, when you hear the name, the only time he actually pops up in the Armenian community is during the genocide, the Armenian American Museum that's being built, anything that has to do with it. And I get it. Yeah, it's a PR stunt. I totally get it.
Once a year, he uses us, just like how Democrats use, African Americans, right?
Yeah. So we're tired of that, and people need to realize.
Are we though? Are we, or do we allow ourselves to be used?
Well, the people that need to wake up.
No, right. As long as he wears a purple T-shirt, shows up, we're good with it. That purple.
No,
T-shirt.
He's been. One of my my chair of medicine said, everyone deserves respect. Not everyone deserves praise. I don't praise Adam Schiff, but you have to respect the man because he was a shrewd politician,
of course,
who knew how to exploit his base, the people in his district. Why is he no longer giving any sort of lip service to the Armenians? Because Armenians in California, to vote for him, they are less than 1% of the vote.
Well, he doesn't need us anymore.
Right, he doesn't need us anymore. So we're in this district, we're 15% of the electorate. He needs us for California 30. He is no longer running for California 30. So he has shown his true colors about how little he cares for us.
Yeah, it's long overdue. 22 years, and
cheers, by the way.
Oh yeah, cheers, definitely. 22 years, and shit has been.
Sorry, Alex, can I get a drink as well?
There you go. Cheers, by the way.
Cheers.
22 years, nothing has been going. nothing has been going in the right direction. In fact, everything's been declining, even after COVID. We would think that, okay, after COVID, we had our lockdowns, we had our businesses boarded up, but then everything reopened, and we're going to head towards the better. But actually, it got worse. We printed a bunch of money. The homeless crisis wasn't taken care of. And then you have Gavin Newsom, just in time for elections, sign an executive order to clean up the homeless. But mind you,
he's auditioning for some job.
Oh yeah, probably, possibly.
And in time for Olympics in 2028.
Well, the Olympics, here's the thing. The Olympics are going to be hosted in LA, which is, remember what we talked about, what's going to be happening come the Olympics. We don't know if Karen Bass will be the mayor at the time.
Probably.
Possibly.
Incumbent, right? Difficult to unseat.
Possibly. But will LA be cleaned up in time for the Olympics? Will the 100%. Homeless crisis be handled?
It won't be resolved. It'll be cleaned up.
But okay, but where are they going to take them?
They're going to push them to Glendale.
Oh, geez. Yes. No, man. Are you kidding me?
Absolutely. You don't see them increasing their numbers in Glendale. You're going to have woke politicians like Dan Brotman saying, yes, send them over here. By the way, pull us these favors, pull these strings. They will absolutely trade the favors of bringing those people into our city limits in order to advance themselves politically. Absolutely, they will do that.
Why would they? Oh, man.
Why would they? Because Dan Brotman will use Glendale to his advantage. Plain and simple.
But Glendale's a no tolerance, no encampment zone. You can't encamp. You can't camp out in Glendale on the streets that they do in LA.
It's listen. Do you put it past the 3 out of 5 stooges on our city council to pass that ordinance to make it legal for them?
I promise you, if that shit passes for them to allow encampment, it'll be civil war in Glendale.
Nothing will happen.
Nothing will happen.
You're kidding me,
Nothing
bro.
will happen.
Look, the culture,
Nothing will happen,
the culture in Glendale is different than the culture in NoHo, Studio City, Sherman Oaks. It's different. It's different.
How?
The culture is different.
How?
What do you mean how?
Absolutely.
The Armenians in Glendale, the Latinos in Glendale, the Koreans in Glendale are different.
How was Brotman elected into our public office?
Twice.
Brotman has a certain circle of people that literally vote him in. That's what it is.
40% of Glendale is Armenian. 40%.
And how many of those people do you think vote?
Not a lot.
That's it.
Right.
Oh, okay. How many Armenian parents showed up to the protest for their kids at GUSD?
Not enough.
No. How many?
Not enough.
A lot showed
12?
up. A lot showed up, but the problem is when it came time to vote, for example, Annetta Karpetyan, why was the turnout only 35%?
That's our issue. The issue here is people aren't. The voter turnout is becoming very, very bad.
It's not just the voter turnout, guys. I mean, look.
We got to start handing out cheeseburgers and fries.
40% Armenians in Glendale, right?
Yep.
Glendale has a little over 200,000.
200,000, yeah.
Right?
Now, not all 40% are actually voting, right? They're not all citizens.
So let's say out of the 80,000 Glendale Armenians who live in Glendale, 80,000, we didn't even have 800 parents show up to the protests where we were physically fighting against Antifa, right?
Right.
We had like maybe 200-300 if that, and majority of it was because we kept on pushing it on the podcast. I mean, where are these parents? So for you to say the culture is different, it will be civil war, nothing will happen. Everybody will wake up. They'll go pick up their Crappuccino on the drive-through. They'll go to their work, chill at their office, post their stupid pictures of, I just got my nails done. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, they don't give a flying fuck about anything.
Look, you guys saw the video of that homeless guy near my house, right?
Mm-hmm. When there was suntanning.
The one that was suntanning.
Yeah.
That was literally a couple feet away from someone's front yard. The guy's just laying there.
Yep.
And there was some guy that was saying, "Oh, did you ask him if he wanted any water, and maybe he was dehydrated?" No, bro. The guy literally walked up Glen Oaks into the Rosmoyne area and laid there. Mind you, you get pinged in Glendale for using too much water, but a homeless guy could basically lay there. And you know what? Hats off to the Glendale PD for coming out there very quickly. Thank God for that. But when that shit starts hitting residential areas, you don't think people in those areas, the Rosmoyne
No.
areas, the Verdugo
No.
Woodlands,
They're
the
g-
Burbank Hills, they'll be like, bro, no, this shit is not okay.
Arno, they're gonna do exactly what you're doing, and you're gonna posting, complaining, and that's pretty much it.
Look, if I'm telling you what we've talked about this, right? What is that phrase? It's like, I would die on a hill for my kids. What's that phrase, right? When I saw that parents don't care to show up for their kids, for themselves, that's fine. You don't want to show up. I bet you if there was a raffle for Section 8, 50,000 fucking people would show up for a Section 8 raffle. I hate to say it, but that's how we are. But for your kids, I'd rather stay home and watch another Armenian series of, some guy shooting some other guy in his like,
I know what you mean, and I hate to say
it
it.
disappoints me.
No, I know what you mean, but I hate to say this as well, and I'm contradicting myself. But I promise you, if we were to give away a Louis Vuitton purse or some travel getaway to Mexico, everybody would come out and
Louis
vote.
Vuitton, no. Pero you give away the Hermes Birkin or
Hermes.
Hermes is showing up in. We're going to. It's the sad reality, and that's what I don't understand. And the whole kid situation frustrated. Nothing else frustrates me as much as if you're not willing to stand up for your kids. What are you willing to stand up for? Why are you even a parent? It's. I mean, just give up your kids. Give them to the government. Let them deal with, do whatever they want. They'll change their gender, whatever they want to change. You won't even be notified. Things will be hidden from you.
See,
I mean-
let me ask you a question. With this whole AB 955 that was passed, right?
1955.
Was that up from Sacramento down to District 30?
Yeah, so that's a bill for all of California. So
Was that
it was,
Wiener that passed that shit?
No, that
the-
was not Scott Wilk. Ward. Ward was the guy's last name. He is a representative from San Diego, and he introduced it. And this was, again, in direct in direct reference to Chino Valley. You had somebody like Sonia Shaw, who was on their school board, who said, okay, we are going to mandate that if a child changes their gender, or their pronouns, then parents have a right to know. So they did it in direct response to that. So this was just like how the Glendale parents protested. And then Tony Portantino introduced SB 596 and passed SB 596. So people who don't know at home, in direct response to the protests, the GOSD protests, Anthony Portantino, at the behest of Glendale Teachers Association and LAUSD, wrote this bill that said that we are going to penalize parents who speak up at school board meetings and cause emotional distress, alarm, or annoyance. We're going to saddle on them a $1,000 misdemeanor fine. And so this passed.
Yeah.
It was vetoed by Gavin Newsom. We used that move as his fatal flaw. We stuck the dagger in there. We killed the beast. That is how we felled that beast. So this particular law, AB 1955, again, was in direct response to parents at the school boards, Chino Valley, wanting the parents to be informed. And so that is why they did it. So we need to get this back. Again, not just my election, California 30, but all of the assembly districts. There is now a supermajority in both the Senate and the Assembly. Supermajority meaning that it is veto proof. You cannot do a filibuster. You cannot do anything. There's more than 2/3 majority in both chambers of California state legislature. So whatever they want to pass, they are passing. They are just rubber stamping everything. We have Democratic Assembly, Democratic Senate. We have a Democratic governor. That has been the case for the last 16 years. And things have gone unopposed through that because people have just not showed up.
What I've been trying to figure out what brought us to this point, Alex, in your opinion, where we've become so divided, where let's say if two families sit down together, parents of 2 or 3 kids, you're sitting down, one is a support Democrat, one is a Republican. How have we become so divided where we can't even agree on the fundamentals of what's good for our children? Everything else put aside, yes, you may vote for higher gas taxes because you think it's benefiting your state because they're building the roads or higher property taxes or what. Fine, that's
Right.
fine. When it comes to those fiscal matters, it's okay. You can have your own opinion. But when it comes to the well-being of our children, how have we become so divided to the point where families, cousins and neighbors and relatives, brothers, sisters even could sit down together and they cannot even agree on the very basic fundamentals of, yes, I think my child should grow up the way I did, which is, you may think, look, when we were kids, I remember in Armenia, I have pictures of it. What, I don't know it wasn't even an event. One day, I think my brother was about 5 at the time. Our neighbors, they dressed him like a girl, and we have pictures. And then one other day, they dressed me like a girl, and they dressed my brother like a old grandpa, and
Mhm.
they put a cigarette in his mouth, and we took pictures. Nobody ever thought about, well, I think, yeah, my son wants to be a girl, or there was no such conversation. It was just, for that moment, it was fun and games that we took those pictures, and that's it. We have memories.
Mhm.
But now all of a sudden, it's all about, and it's difficult because as a parent, the other day I took my boys to Baskin Robbins. We're sitting down. There's a father and a child. I can't even tell if the child's a boy or a girl. The way even they're sitting on the chair, it's so awkward. And my son asks, like, Papa, what is that, a boy or a girl?
Oh, jeez,
I don't know.
man.
I don't know what to say.
Uh-huh. So
Like,
you don't know.
I really don't know what to say. Like, I'm like, I don't know.
This is an appropriate time to show off my shirt.
What does your shirt say?
My shirt says, "I miss the world before pronouns."
Wow.
And so how did we get to this
I
point
love it.
where we're so divided on the fundamentals of just family values and upbringings?
Mhm.
Forget about all the other crap, just all the other political stuff, just the whole family value thing. How are we so divided?
I don't think you don't forget the political stuff because it is because of the political stuff. This all started in the 90s with political correctness, where they weren't Oriental, they were Asian American. They weren't Black, they were African American. They weren't Indian, they were Native American. And okay, I get it that you want to be called something, but that was the start of you not being free to say what you wanted to say without any sort of retribution. Now, granted, free speech, right? It's there. If you're going to be a jerk about it, then you should expect to have somebody not roll out the red carpet for you or not frequent your store. If you're a jerk and you own the corner store and they're not going to go to your store, they're going to go somewhere else. That's fine. Run, those are those consequences, right? But that has snowballed. The politically correct movement from the 90s has snowballed into the woke ideology of today. The woke ideology today being, I see injustice everywhere. I see racial injustice. I see social injustice. And I am self-appointed to see that injustice. And you don't even know that you are being unjust. And I am telling you, and I am right, and I am holy, and you are a bad person if you don't see the injustice. And nobody wants to be a bad person. Nobody wants to be canceled. And so that furthered our inability to speak freely. Luckily for me, I had a genetic abnormality. I was born without a filter. Luckily for me. Okay.
What's the official ICD-10 code?
I don't know what the ICD-10 code is. Balikian. That's what I would say, because all of my, if you ever came, thank God there were no camcorders or videos available, but just Christmas, with the Balekian brothers, it was just, it was you had to sign an NDA, but like we had no filter. And so that is when you say, like, how can we not talk about it? Because you are not able to express your opinion freely without being called a bad person. And we need to change that. And there was some woman who was, viral recently on social media who said, in England, she said, when did we allow people to stop being offended? When did we allow people to control our speech because they felt so offended? The problem is, if you give these people, and a lot of times these people who have the woke ideology, they have an underlying mental illness. They have anxiety disorder, they have depression. They are organically unhappy with themselves and with life. And if everybody else in the world disappeared, they would still be unhappy. So no change in behavior from your end would change their self-loathing, their self-unhappiness, and giving into them. For example, we had, the wokes wanting this LGBT proclamation for June, 30th Pride. And so you had it and it was given. And then immediately a week after, they were saying how they were still marginalized and they were still living in danger and fear of their life, right? I'm not a homophobe. Neither is my husband. Neither of us as card-carrying homosexuals think that we are somehow in danger of being erased. So these people with woke ideology, they have an inherent unhappiness that is internal, and no amount of external change on our part is going to fix that. They need help. They need to right themselves, and we should not give in to their delusions, and we should not kowtow to what they think that their happy reality should be.
Yeah, because when does it stop?
It doesn't.
As time has been going on, there's been more shit added to their flag.
If your child wants a cookie and you give that child a cookie, what's he going to want then? Another cookie.
Absolutely.
Right. And when's that going to stop? It's never going to stop.
They're adding more shit to their flag. They're adding more pronouns. It's never ending. And when you think about it, it's kind of like Botox and plastic surgery or even tattoos. Once you start,
You're addicted to it.
I'm still trying to figure out what the plus means.
They can't continue the alphabet, so they just put a plus. And
So that means like everything and anything.
Oh, it's more
including
like
pedophilia.
Well, we don't want to. We don't want to get canceled there, Joe. But
That's right.
it's more of like the United States, and I think the world is, and I'm praying that people are waking up and they're getting sick and tired of this woke progressive bullshit that's being shoved down our throat. And I've had clients, I've had friends, even one of my gay clients who left Glendale because he saw this coming years ago. Very successful attorney. And, I've mentioned on the show before, I've tried to get him on, but he's like, bro, we left because we saw this was coming.
Yeah.
And, he's like, eventually it'll settle down. But for right now, he goes, LA is a dumpster fire and you need everybody to come together collectively. And with the grassroots, just put out that dumpster fire, and you need the right candidates for it. And it's funny, him being a gay attorney, all of a sudden you have a gay doctor running for a congressional seat. And I called him, I said, and I'm going to say his name, but I'm like, hey, Rob, we have a candidate for District 30. He goes, I know, I saw. And then he was like, he has a chance to win. But he goes, remember what I told you? I go, what did you tell me? He goes, grassroots, you need people to vote. You need everybody to get on board and literally have 3, 4, 5 of their family members alongside with them vote. You said 20.
Yep.
That's even better now.
Yep.
You know what's surprising? Even I was overseas, right? Last 3 weeks. Amsterdam. I don't think I saw a single Netherlands flag. Literally, like nothing. Just pride flags.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, every Uber cab driver I sat in
was Armenian.
No.
Okay.
They were a lot of Moroccans.
Okay.
Some Afghanis.
Mm.
Every single one of them was complaining about it.
Yep.
Yet, I'm like, so what are you guys doing about it? He's like, nothing. I said, bro, like, what country am I in? Oh, is this pride country or are we in Netherlands? Like, I haven't seen a single orange flag.
Well, it's not orange. It's red, white, and blue.
Yep.
Right. It's similar to the French flag. But their whole thing is about orange, right? Mm-hmm. They had some things, here and there, but it was just I swear, thousands and thousands of pride flags.
And it wasn't even June.
No, I was there when?
July.
Was it July? Yeah. July,
It's funny. In Mexico, we had, I was actually wearing this shirt to the airport.
Mm-hmm.
I had a bunch of high fives at the airport, LAX. On the plane, I had this one guy, older gentleman, probably in his like maybe 70s. He goes, "I fucking love your shirt."
Did he?
Yeah, I was just like, no complaints. But anyways, we get to Mexico. Cab driver picks us up, and we're driving to our hotel. And he goes, "Where are you guys from?" And I was like, "We're from LA." And he goes, "Oh, that's nice." He goes, what part of LA are you guys from? I go, "Well, it's a small city called Glendale." He goes, "Oh, a lot of Armenians there, right?" I go, "Yeah." I'm like, "So I'm assuming you've picked up a lot of Armenian." He goes, "Yeah. He goes, "You guys are very similar to the Mexican culture." I'm like, "Yeah, we are. We are. It's all about morals, values, principles,
Mhm.
family."
And not voting.
Oh God, don't get me started there. But anyways, he and I said, "Yeah, it is about that." And he goes, "Can I ask you a question?" I go, "Sure." He goes, "Not to get political, but he goes, what are your thoughts on Trump?" I go, "I love the guy. He's conservative. His morals are there. His values are there as far as, aligning with mine. And you know what? We lived better during Trump's era than we did during Biden's." He turns around and he goes, "So did we." And I said,
Yeah.
"How so?" He goes, "When the United States does good, the entire world does good. The peso was doing better. We were working. The cost of living was cheaper."
Mhm.
He goes, "As soon as the president changed and it was Joe Biden, everything went downhill here as well." And I was just, I felt for the guy as well. And I go, "What else do you do for a living besides this?" He goes, "This is all I do." He goes, "I do transportation." And he goes, "The peso used to be so much stronger during the Trump era."
Well,
Yeah.
it's all based on thing, right? Travel. So tourism. That's the main thing. So when COVID hit, that was huge for them as well. They suffered tremendously. So a large portion of the GDP comes from tourism. So that's probably why. And if people can't afford vacations, there you go.
It's not just the GDP up, but even when I was in London, London had a lot of Afghani Uber drivers. Every single one of them, I would ask. I said, "What do you think of our president?" Because when they're like, "Where are you from?" I said, "I'm Armenian." He's like, "Yeah, you live in Armenia?" I'm like, "No, I live in the U.S." Oh, and then I asked him, "So where are you from?" "Oh, I'm from Afghanistan." Like, "Oh, from Afghanistan." He's like, "Look, we don't like the U.S., but we love Trump." Like, really? Every single one of the cab drivers. Same with the Moroccans. Same with the. I came across some Palestinian, like all of them, and I was shocked. Like, oh, really? So you guys actually, even the British, the Brits, they're none of them, not a single one of them. And what was disturbing to me is like we're staying in London. We go to Harrods, which is very famous mall in London.
Owned by an Arab.
Yes, and there's this Turkish lady sitting there as a speaker. I sent you guys the video.
Yeah, you did.
Singing a Turkish song. I've never in my life seen so many people in those. Is that called jihadis? Those
Hijab.
No, hijabs.
The hijabs. Yeah.
A jihadi is somebody completely different.
Sorry, hijabs.
That's
yes.
okay.
Jihadi, they wear backpacks.
And
Yes.
look, I don't care what you wear, but I've just never seen that many people in hijabs,
Mhm.
and it was just infiltrated all of London. I don't think I saw.
Now, do they also have the niqabs as well, where you only saw their eyes?
Yes.
Okay.
And funny enough, see, in Greece, I didn't see any of this, except we were in Corfu, on an island in Greece, and this one young girl was swimming in the ocean in a hijab.
Oh,
Hijab.
jeez.
Hijab, sorry, hijab. Sorry, guys.
It's
Hijab.
his first show back.
Yeah. She was literally swimming next to me. Beautiful young girl
Mhm.
in a hijab. Like, you're in the ocean and
Yeah, I saw it in Mexico as well. There was an Arab family. Then they were in the pool, and I'm just like, really?
So, again, from my standpoint,
Mhm.
if that's what she wants to do for her, great. That's her choice, right?
right.
Yeah.
If she wants to remain modest because that is how she was raised, that is her choice. That's fine. But what I'm saying is they need not. There are now certain areas in the UK where they want to. So there's some faction of people who want to buy an uninhabited Scottish island just so they can essentially create their own Sharia law
Oh,
over
really?
there. Yes. And then you have people like Sadiq Khan, who is the mayor of London. My whole point is there are all these wokes who complain about colonialism, who complain about, the oppressors. The Native Americans didn't create the iPhone, right? The people who were here. So colonialism created the system that we now thrive on. The fact that we've had a lasting peace because of widespread prosperity, because of colonialism, because of capitalism, gives people the free time to worry about things that they never used to worry about. People previously worried about, how am I going to get food on the table? How am I going to pay for my health insurance? Am I going to get sick? Am I going to die? Because those things, chronic disease, poverty, food insecurity, have been eradicated for the most part, people now have free time to worry about things that used to be immaterial.
Yeah.
They worry about the oppressed class. They worry about equality. If you're like Susie Abajan, you talk about how this is Tongva land. What did the Tongva people do to this land? Nothing. They created no infrastructure. They created no indelible edifices.
Yeah.
That was colonialism. That was capitalism that created those. So I don't mind if people who are, for example, refugees, let's say you are a Shia Muslim and you come from a Sunni Muslim country and you were oppressed because you were a different type of Muslim and you go to the UK and you are able to practice freely. Great. So long as you are a respectful citizen of that country, so long as you allow that country's constitutional rights to be given to other peoples without saying, oh, this is an affront to me as, a Muslim, as, somebody XYZ, because what you're doing offends me and you're not allowed to say it. No, that is not okay.
See, the bigger picture here is how those people entered that country. A lot of Europe is open border. France being one of the best examples of it. Completely open border. Everybody is welcome.
Well, they're open. So they're open among the different Schengen countries, but to come into a Schengen country, it's supposed to be difficult. It's supposed to be difficult. Correct. But then you have all those Libyan refugees who just travel straight up to the point of the boot of Italy.
Correct.
You have all those, Turkish refugees or the Palestinians or whatever who just go straight into one of the Greek islands.
So it's become fairly easy to enter.
You have Erdogan, who intentionally does not suppress the egress of Syrian refugees, who intentionally allows people to come through. The majority of people who are coming in and crossing the American border illegally are taking the Istanbul to Mexico City flight.
Oh, yeah, easily.
Do you know that?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
all those central, the Uzbeks, the Tajiks, the Kyrgyz, right? The ones who come here. The people who are crossing our border are no longer Guatemalans, Nicaraguans who want to come here for a better life, right? These are military-aged men from Central Asian countries, North African countries,
seeking refuge,
who likely bear ill will against us.
It's an invasion.
It's an invasion. I agree.
That's how I felt in London, because look, I don't care you wear a hijab, you wear your, what's the Jewish thing?
Yarmulke.
I don't care what you wear. But the fact that I'm in central London and all I hear is Turkish and Muslim, all this, why? No, like why? I'm not fucking racist, but why? I'm in London. I don't care what you dress like. I don't care what you do. But every single public performer, street, whoever was just sitting there, it is all Muslim, Arabic music, Turkish music. Why? I'm not in fucking Istanbul. I'm in London with my family. To me, that doesn't sit well. Again, I understand you left your country for a better life. Good for you.
I'm gonna flip that narrative on you and think like a Dan Brotman supporter. People in Glendale who see the fruit vendors on the sidewalk, who see people in parking lots, sitting there with their coffees, congregating in parking lots with their cigarettes, smoking, and they're like, what happened here? So they're people who.
I'm against that too.
Right.
I'm not a fan of these Armenian young guys at Coffee Bean Starbucks
with their crappuccinos, as you say.
Yeah, 18 hours a day smoking. I'm like, how the fuck do you make your living, bro? You just smoke here, somebody.
SSI.
I've always been against that 7-Eleven standing there at 2 a.m. 18 guy. Hey, yeah, we're cool. You're not
Yep.
fucking cool, bro. Go sleep. You have work in the morning. You have school in the morning. You go live your life. I'm completely against that too. But then now, when you have the public music, I'm telling you, we're just walking by. I saw nothing English, nothing British in that city.
Well, it's
in the
also
capital.
the government enabling that, right? So the government gives public benefits, and so these people come. They don't have jobs. My parents, they came as refugees.
Mhm.
My father was an engineer. He built oil rigs in Iraq before the Ba'athist Revolution, before they just grabbed everything they could and they came to this country. The man didn't have his engineering license, so what did he do? He went to San Fernando, gang-infested San Fernando, leased a fried chicken joint.
Yeah.
And the man made fried chicken until he could get his general contractor's license and start building things. And that's how he did it. So, but this is the kind of immigrant, the kind of person that a country needs to bring in. Somebody who is skilled, somebody who wants to create a small business and create jobs, and somebody who is willing to embrace the Constitution, the way of life, and to assimilate.
Yeah.
So, but when you bring people in, and rather than giving them opportunities, you enable them by giving them subsidies. That does not give them any incentive to live an independent life, let alone one that creates opportunities for others. And that is where the central problem is. You go down, the prime example of that concrete alleyway of Central Avenue. So you have our city that subsidizes the developers to build those buildings.
Mhm.
Yes.
15% of them are supposed to be low income. The remaining 85% are not low income, and they are extortionate prices. But then the city, on the other hand, says, okay, we're going to bring in people who cannot afford these. We're going to subsidize half of their rent. So you have not only created slaves, low-income slaves to the city who will be forced to vote for those people who give them their handouts, but you have also perpetuated the high cost of living system with these developers, because they're like, oh, I can charge $4,000 for a 2-bedroom. Why? Because the city of Glendale will give me the remainder of what these low-income renters cannot give me.
It's like Section 8, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
And then who pays for it? Raise your hand.
Taxpayers.
Right.
I
Middle
don't-
class.
I don't pay taxes, so I'm not going to raise
Good
my.
for you.
Yeah, I found the loophole.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Listen, you're already
All of a
in
sudden he ends up
a ditch.
prison.
Ditch that.
Sorry, Vincent. Before you get your panties wet, I was not wearing a Trump hat while I was sitting in the cab. I did not have a Trump hat in all of my vacation.
I don't have my glasses. I can't even see what anybody's
he's
saying.
like, well, you're wearing a Trump hat. That's why they said, yeah, we love Trump. I was not wearing a Trump hat.
Yeah, I was the only one wearing the I missed the world before pronouns.
I try to be less politically
He tries to be less racist when he's leaving the country.
provocative when I'm with my family, because especially overseas. 'cause,
Provocative. Yeah, he
yeah.
tends to leave his shirt on when he leaves the country. Fucking A, Jesus Christ.
Hey man.
Yeah, I know. So when is election day? November 5th?
So there's election month. The election day is November 5.
Oh, yeah,
Ballots
I
go
forgot
out.
about that.
Ballots go out October 5. So people who are watching at home, your ballots will arrive October 5. Call everybody. Make sure they do not unintentionally throw away their ballots. We are going to do Armenian language advertisements that show people what their ballots look like. And you have an entire month. My recommendation would be to turn your ballots in early for a couple of reasons. Number one, we get reports of who has turned in their ballots, so that when we go out and try to do ballot harvesting, we know which households to skip over because they've already turned them in. Also, you don't know on voting day if it's going to be raining, if there's going to be a line full of like 30 people because there's an old person who doesn't know how to use the voting machine. So everybody, whether you've asked for it or not, is going to get a mail-in ballot. It's like having a test. You have that Scantron paper for an entire month to do your homework, to try to figure out who you're going to vote for. And then you can just go ahead and turn it in by mail. Don't even need a postage stamp on it. Just throw it in the mail, or else get to us on the website. But like I said, it would be great if you all could do just people again, getting engaged and saying, okay, we're going to go ballot harvest, we're going to do phone banking, etc.
How do they do phone banking?
So phone banking is, again, we as a campaign registered with the state, we have access to voter records. So we have everybody's address, we have everybody's party affiliation, Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, Independent. We know whether they voted or not. We don't know how they voted, but we know whether in the last 4 elections they voted in all 4, in 0. And that's how we say high propensity, low propensity, or no propensity. And so we have access to all those, and we have the numbers for 60,000 people and their addresses, all the Armenians. And we just need all hands on deck. You guys have 6,000 followers. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if each of those followers calls 10 people,
that's 60,000.
That's 60,000. And we have 100% turnout for the Armenians. If each of your followers calls 10 people, and we have all the numbers.
So how do they come to a specific location to make these phone calls, or you provide? How does that work?
we have our offices. I mean, if it's just 10 phone calls, we can give you the numbers, and you can do that from your own phone. We have these virtual phone numbers where people can log in and they can call from. I mean, it shows on there Alex Balekian MD. So you know the person who sees, oh, Alex is calling me, and so they'll go ahead and answer. There are multiple different ways that we can do it.
Are we able to? I'm just kind of going off on.
I'll be back right now. I'll be back. James is here.
Okay. So are we able to, let's say, kind of how during the telethon they'll have volunteers, 20, 30 young volunteers show up and they'll make phone calls live throughout the, whatever it is, 12, 24-hour telethon to raise money. Are we able to do something like that where we can, for example, from the Wise Nuts, where we're like, okay, Tuesday night, we're gathering at so-and-so location.
Yep.
We're the 3 of us, Joe, Arno, myself, we're going to be there. We're going to be making phone calls.
Yep.
We want 50, 30, 40, 50 of you to show up, and we're going to make phone calls.
Yep.
Is that something we can do?
We can do that. It's tough because it's not guaranteed that on a single evening, the people will be there, for example. Especially, so I'll give you a great example.
Meaning who?
The people that we're trying to reach.
Well,
so we're trying to reach voters. So
Right.
I'll give you a great example. We were having a town hall that we had set up, we were having a town hall that we set up maybe almost a month in advance in Burbank. It turns out it was on the last night of the Republican National Convention, right when Trump was speaking.
July 15th?
19th, I think.
Was it 19th?
It was later, but you can understand how the timing was terrible. So even if you say it, something may come up. Trump may get shot, and everybody's watching the news cycle and nobody's answering their telephone. So this is why we need people to be flexible. So it would be better if we said, okay, we have 1,000 people who've signed up, and every person's going to have 60 people assigned to them over the next month. Please try to reach these 60 people. Try to call them. These are your 60.
But when they call those people, even if they call with their own phone, that's going to show Alex Balikian MD.
No. So we can give them access to, like I said, we have our virtual phone, for example, like a voice over internet protocol, and people can log into and then just go ahead and call.
Got it.
Yeah, but it has to be something where you can't just do it unilaterally. Like, call us, get on our website, alexforca30.com or alexbalikian.com, and just, call in to volunteer, and we will go ahead and give you all of the information, let you know when you can come in. But the prime times to reach people on their phone are going to be on weekends, let's say 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., or else weekdays from 4 to 6 p.m., either knocking on their door or calling them. That's when they're most likely to call. Nobody's going to answer their phone at 11 o'clock in the morning when they're at work.
Yeah. The best way to, I think, approach all this is having somebody who is a supporter of Alex Balekian talk to their family members as well and say, listen, uncles, aunts, brothers, sisters, grandmas, grandpas, doesn't matter who it is. If you're having issues and you don't know how to read the ballots and you need help, let me help you fill it out and guide those people in the right direction. Because this goes back to what you were mentioning again, and I'm going to say it probably multiple times, but if we can get one person to vote for help 20 people and their family members vote, this can help us win.
It'll be a landslide.
It'll be a landslide.
It'll be a landslide.
I mean, at this point, I'm looking at it as if you're not. I mean, tell me you're lazy. Tell me that you don't care, but don't tell me you can't. Make some time and take 2 or 3 people with you.
Joe, we went canvassing at your parents' place.
Yeah,
in
I
Glendale. We didn't know that they were your parents, but then when they told us the last name, we put 2 and 2 together.
By the way, I need a new sign for my yard.
You need a new sign. Okay.
I need a new sign.
And by the way, Arno, I don't know why I got a square on my face.
I don't know. We got to talk to Vic about that.
I feel like I'm playing ping pong.
Well, look at it this way. You're always in focus.
You're too sexy for the
Always
camera.
in
Joe.
You're always in focus. But I need a new yard sign.
Okay.
I found out my neighbors in front of me. Well, not in front of me. I'm sorry. 2 houses down from me.
Oh, they got version 2.0.
Oh no. He mows his lawn with an electric lawnmower.
Uh-huh.
So he basically has it plugged in with a giant extension cord.
He doesn't have solar charger.
I don't know if he has solar, but like I'm not kidding you, bro. His lawnmower he has an extension cord that runs into his house.
Yeah.
Like he refuses to use a gas lawnmower.
That's fine.
That's not fine. That's weird.
Okay.
That's weird.
What are you, Tim Walz?
No. He's also. We'll get into Tim as well. But we have
quite a bit of notes there yet. We haven't.
Well, we've missed so much, but I wanted to make sure we talk about Alex's campaign.
Let's do it. Rapid fire.
And understand why it's so important to flip what's going on in District 30,
Right.
and for people to understand it's like it's now or never at this point.
And for the people listening at home, again, you watching, you are engaged. We already have you. That's great. I want that guy who's having his cappuccino in the Starbucks. When you're getting your cappuccino and you see those 4, elderly Armenian men smoking their cigarettes and standing there, I want you to engage those people. I want you to ask them. I'll tell you the story of this guy. I'll call him Boris. So I was putting up signs, and then Boris said, "Oh, what are you doing?" And he says, "Oh, I want a couple of the signs." And I said, "Are you registered to vote?" He says, "Yes, I'm registered. I'll vote for you." Later on, I checked. At his address, there was nobody registered at his address. So Boris probably doesn't know that he's not even registered, or maybe his address is not up to date and he's not going to get a ballot. So the first step is asking yourself, am I registered? Is my aunt registered? Like all those people. So I'm actually at home for the next 2 weeks. I'm going to walk to Boris's house tomorrow, and I'm going to knock on his door and I'm going to say, look, I checked your voter registration. It's not there. Let's register you. So that's the first step, is to register yourself.
Look, if this man, a successful physician, I swear, look, you went to medical school for what, 8 years?
4 years undergraduate, 4
4
years med school, 6 years of postgraduate training.
Between residency, fellowship, and all that, right? I mean, if after spending 12 years of agony, and I know because I'm in that field and I see what you guys go through to have an MD next to your name. And obviously you can pretty much make as much money as you want. Now you've dedicated your life to going on knocking on people's doors and saying, "Excuse me, Boris, are you registered?" If he can do that, I seriously feel embarrassed if I'm not willing to go and knock on a few doors or make a few phone calls and say, "Listen, guys, are you going to be voting for Alex Balikian? Because he's the change that we need." So we all need to take that stance. And I'm not just saying that because this is my, our podcast, and we truly need to do that. If this man, as a physician, anywhere in the world he goes, he has a job. Anywhere in the world he goes. I don't. Arnold doesn't. It will take him a while to get his real estate license wherever country he goes to. Joe may, because Joe's a mobster mafia guy, so he could potentially anywhere. But no, seriously, when you think about it, Alex, your wife, she's an RN.
Yeah, she's in the medical field.
Anywhere you go, you guys can live there. Anybody would hire you because of your education and your expertise. You've given up all that to knock on a door to say, "Boris Can Mernan Boyd, are you registered?" Yeah, I think I'm registered. Are you sure? Because you're not showing up anywhere. No. My aunt from Majide registered me. No, you're not registered. We need to, you know what I mean? If you're willing to put up that fight, the least we can do is make 5, 10, 20 phone calls or knock on a few doors of our neighbors and say, "Listen, guys, vote for this man. This is the change that we need." Like, I don't know how else to explain this, where we need it, because just right before the show, I was talking to my attorney, and I said, look, I'm dealing with this situation with the former employee. He goes, listen, you're in California, right? I said, yeah. He goes, you're in the worst state in the world, not in the country. He's like, you're in the worst state in the world.
For being a boss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For being an employer. So how do we change that? I mean, why am I even an employer? And sometimes that's when I was in Greece, right? I'm looking at these beach clubs. I'm telling my wife, I'm like, Ani, listen, there's a part of me that wants to go back, sell everything, move on this Greek island, open up a beach club bar,
until you realize
just
you have
fucking
kids.
sell grilled sardines and
Mhm.
what's it called, the
Saganaki,
no, there's that
cheese on fire.
drink they drink there. It's
So
not absence. Anyways, I'll remember it later. But just want to be on the beach,
Uzu?
sell
Uzu?
some grilled.
you're talking about ouzo.
No,
Uzo?
not izu.
They have raki, but that's a terrible one. Tastes like
It's
motor
this-
oil.
No.
How do you know what motor oil tastes like?
I tried it once.
As a kid, I tried it one time.
James, does he change the oil in the car? Oh, all right.
You know what I mean? It's like sometimes you think about that when you're traveling abroad. You're
Yeah.
like, what am I doing dealing with all the bureaucracy in California and lawsuits and potential this? You have absolutely no say, no protection, no nothing.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we need to change that.
Yeah. So what you say, actually, in Europe, the business climate is actually quite terrible. Europe is not known for its business climate, and that's what a lot of the countries who belong to the EU are complaining about, is because from Brussels there's so many rules and regulations that they have to abide by. I'll give you an example. When I went to the south of France, there were these small mom and pop restaurants that were very upset because they had to put in wheelchair ramps and they had to redo their bathrooms for disabled people.
Does Greece fall into that?
Yeah, it's the EU. So this woman, she said this building was built in the 1890s.
Yeah.
They don't have
Wheelchair
ramps, right? It's not accessible. It's just this is a cobblestone street that is coming up here.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. So it depends. It changes, but as far as here in California, Glendale, right? Our offices are in the old Nestle building, which is currently the Service Titan building. But I remember growing up here, Nestle had their headquarters. They moved to Virginia. Toyota had their headquarters in the South Bay. They moved to Texas.
Chevron's moving.
Chevron is moving to Texas.
There's a giant automobile company that just moved to Texas as well. What was
Tesla.
that company called again?
Tesla.
Was it Tesla?
Yes.
Tesla?
Yeah, Tesla,
Tesla's
SpaceX.
moving to Houston,
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So
My
the,
office used to be in Nestle building, 17th floor.
Yeah. I mean, so it has become, back in the days of Duke Majan and Pete Wilson, it was a business friendly environment.
It was a law-abiding environment.
Yes.
Duke Majan was a very law and order type of.
He built so many
governor.
prisons.
And he was very firm on law and order.
Yes.
That's what we need. We need law and order
Mhm.
back. All this bullshit that's been going on with these $950 smash and grabs and all this crap that's been going on, that needs to all go away.
Right. And I remind people, and again, I am the candidate of public safety. Laura Friedman is a threat to public safety. Let's talk about drug overdoses. In 2022, 3 high school students every day, aged 14 to 18, would die of unintentional fentanyl overdoses because the marijuana that they use would be laced with fentanyl. I say strengthen our border. We know where that fentanyl is coming from. It's coming from China via Mexico. Strengthen the border. Don't let that fentanyl in. My opponent, Laura Friedman, instead is writing bills to create state-sponsored centers where people can use their drugs, quote unquote, safely. Let's talk about other types of public safety. Let's do homelessness, right? I say you cannot fix the homelessness problem unless you diagnose and acknowledge and treat the mental illness and drug addiction that is there. My opponent, Laura Friedman, who has wasted already $26 billion on homeless housing, has written Prop 5, which will increase property taxes and rents for everybody. Why? To create more money for more homeless housing. Again, she is a threat to public safety.
As if the
I am the
cost
candidate of public safety
As if the cost of living hasn't skyrocketed.
because of the property
I mean,
taxes.
does anybody ask for transparency? Where's that $26 billion?
No, so and again, so they did audits. They said we can't find it, and then
We can't find it.
the state legislature passed a law that said, okay, let's create this additional audit. And Gavin Newsom, who would have been subject to that audit, vetoed the bill, saying, oh, we already have audit processes in place. Yes, those audit processes didn't find where that all money got lost.
That's cute, because if I go to Office Depot and if I buy a couple of highlighters, for $7.29 for 4 highlighters, I got to keep receipts in case if I get audited, I got to show the IRS that this was actually business expense. Yet the state of California spends $26 billion on a
Alex, you have a clip that you wanted us to share as well. Joe, we have that clip, right?
Yeah, we got that.
Okay, this is a snippet of who Laura Friedman is and what she stands for.
The bicycle lane lady.
Literally the bicycle lane lady.
Just FYI, we're on YouTube, but I love this box. But anyway,
sorry, Joe.
It's all right. But we're on YouTube, so it was
Listen,
made
as
on
long as
Instagram.
it's not an assassination attempt, you're good.
All right, we got it. Let me know when you want it on.
Go ahead. You can play it right now.
Here we go.
The assembly member for the 44th district. And it's true. I am an environmentalist, guilty as charged. I want to bring bicycle infrastructure and pedestrian infrastructure all across this country. We know that we need to get people out of their cars. We have only a little bit of time left to act to bring this earth back into balance. These talking points that Mr. Clark and my opponent, Mr. Balekian, are repeating are Republican talking points. They're the same talking points that say that climate change isn't real.
How dare you?
The same talking points that say nobody rides public transportation. They are trying to turn our lives and the protection of human life into a culture war issue. The same way that they demonize immigrants, demonize trans kids. They want to also demonize anybody who dares to get on a bicycle, a mode of transportation that they feel is un-American.
Absolutely. If we can build roads that allow people to speed, we can build roads that makes people drive in a safe manner also. And I think that's what the pilot project on North Brand Boulevard is all about.
The avid cyclists, a lot of them, they feel comfortable, in traffic. Right. I don't feel comfortable in traffic. I need my city. I need Glendale to make those investments so that I can ride a bike safely around.
I need my city to make investments so that I can ride my bicycle around safely. She wants to turn Glendale into her own private gymnasium.
So let's say I'm mapping it out right now, right? We're in Glendale right now.
Yeah.
Say I work in downtown. Right now I mapped it out to downtown. It's a 15-minute drive.
Yep.
And if I do bicycle, it's a 56-minute ride.
Yep.
So, and there's no traffic right now. We're
right.
at 9:30 p.m.
Right.
So if in the morning I want to get to work, my work starts at 8 a.m. I'm supposed to get on my bicycle at 6:30 a.m. Hopefully I make it on time.
In the 85-degree heat. Yeah. So these people, when I say these people, these woke politicians like Laura Friedman, like Dan Brotman, they prioritize their leisure over our necessity. I would love it if my home and my workplace were separated by a leisurely 15-minute bicycle ride. I would love it if I didn't live on a hill and I could bicycle up my groceries from the supermarket to my home. But that is not a reality. That is fantasy. That is leisure. And they are prioritizing their leisure over our necessity. And that is classic elitism.
And that
where you put your leisure over the needs of the masses. That is classical elitism right there. And these people purport to represent the little guy. Do you think the average Latino who lives one place and is just going to go and clean house another place? I'll tell you, my gardener, right? Do you think he's going to schlep all of his stuff on his bicycle? Yeah. No, he's not going to do that.
Yeah.
Because when I was in Amsterdam, I was thinking about that because, Amsterdam, I think there's more bicycles than human beings.
Sure,
Yes.
Amsterdam that was built and designed centuries before
Yes.
cars were created.
But this was the dilemma. Okay, let's say in Amsterdam everything is circular.
Yeah.
You're going into kind of like this octagon shape. So you're staying at a hotel here, or Airbnb, whatever. You want to go to a restaurant here. You can't drive across,
Mhm.
which would be a 5-minute drive. You can't do that. You have to hop on the car, go all the way. So imagine this. Let's say we're on Brand Boulevard in Glen Oaks, right? I want to get to, say, Pacific in Glen Oaks. I can't just drive on Glen Oaks to Pacific.
Mhm.
I have to hop on the 134 East, go all the way to the 210 East
Mhm.
into Pasadena, switch
Right.
back to 2 South, come back, exit Colorado, and then get on to. That's how it was in Amsterdam.
Mhm.
Because I also rented a car there. I'm like, okay, I'm here. I want to go there. I'm like, okay, let me go there. It's like, no, you can't go there. You got to go hop on the freeway, go all the way through Pasadena, all the way through Eagle Rock. What? Why?
Well, yeah,
But also-
that's what it's becoming.
Because
you
there's-
look at North Brand Boulevard right now. North Brand Boulevard has become one way north, one way south. There is an emergency lane in the middle for left and right, and then you have bicycle lanes on the other side, and then you have parking. And I've seen it multiple times where that bus is trying to turn onto Brand, and
There's
he's
not
hitting.
enough space.
There's not enough space. He's either going to hit a car or he's going to hit those shitty cones that they put up. And then at the same time, you have fire station 20, I think it's 26 or 25. I forget which fire station it is. I live in Rosmoyne, so I'm constantly there. I've seen that fire station, the fire engines coming out and traffic is backed up. How are these guys going to make it to the emergency in time? God forbid somebody's having a heart attack
Right. And
or there's
this,
a fire.
this is what I say, and I'm saying this to city council as well. I am a physician. I'm an intensive care physician. I take care of stroke patients. With stroke patients, minutes matter.
Seconds
Right.
matter.
Right. Minutes matter. And so if the response time is going to go up, that will mean the difference between your mother being paralyzed. Oh, but that's okay because somebody can ride their bicycle. And people are going to start quoting this study that just came out, that was just published last week, that from the Iowa Department of Transportation, that said that road diets don't increase response times. Road diets. So when you take 4 lanes, 2 each way, and then you turn into 3. However, there are several things methodologically incorrect with this paper. But let's just go with the most obvious. Iowa. No city in Iowa is a bustling metropolis. If it was a bustling metropolis, it would be Los Angeles.
Yes.
And the other example that I give you, Armand, is you were in Amsterdam. Amsterdam is a capital city that has all of the resources. And in Europe, countries tend to be centralized. There's one capital city, and then everything else is rural. So in California, that would be Los Angeles or San Francisco. In New York State, that would be New York City. And you would have different capital cities. You go to the smaller cities, forget Amsterdam, go to Rotterdam, go to Haarlem. They do not have an extensive subway system.
No.
Right? People go from one place to another with their automobiles to shop, especially in any month that is not July, where it's just pissing down rain. And right now, how many bicyclists do you see in the 90-degree heat bicycling to work?
That's where I was going with this. Living in the Rosmoyne area, commuting from the Rosmoyne area to North Glendale or Northwest Glendale every single day, back and forth. I'm seeing that area 2 to 3 times commuting back and forth in my car, not on my bike, in my car, because I can't put clients on my pegs in the front, in the back, or in the basket. I can't.
No.
I can't. Unfortunately, I can't. Because if I got to go to North Hills, I'm not going to be riding my bike to North Hills to show properties. But anyways, I'm not kidding you. In the time those bike lanes have been painted, I've probably seen maybe 3, if not 4, actual bikers biking in those lanes.
Low income Latinos who cannot afford cars, right? That's the one who's using it, right?
That's bullshit. Because what's happening now is these so-called council members now are saying, well, it's not about the bike lanes. Well, wait a minute. Wait a
No,
minute.
what is it
You guys just said that you're creating bike lanes for commuting, but it's not about the bike lanes. They say, well, in reality, it's actually about slowing down traffic. There's other ways of slowing down traffic.
The only way that this makes sense to me, I mean, it's a big accusation. I'm not going to put it out there, but what
Just say it, Joe.
Someone's making money out of
Allegedly.
this. So, allegedly, okay. I think someone's definitely making money out of this.
No
I mean,
shit.
obviously, because it's a $500 million contract, and there's it's a minority. How does the minority get what the majority is refusing?
Well, because the majority doesn't vote. That's number one. Number two, Glendale just approved, at the behest of Dan Brotman, no bid contracts. So the first no bid contract was a computer contract that was awarded to Cisco that Dan Brotman used to work for 15 years. And he currently holds stocks in.
Oh,
Let's start following that
that's
money.
convenient.
Very
There we
convenient.
go.
Absolutely very convenient.
See, if they were for actual bike lanes and commuting and all this, right? You know where they would have actually painted these bike lanes? instead
Louise
of
and
north-
Jackson.
There
Yeah.
you go.
That's what I tell people. So again, I'm not anti-bike. I'm not anti-bicyclist. But what I say is you have this large, wide boulevard with cars going to the freeway entrance
Correct.
and also businesses. Immediately adjacent, you have Louise and you have Jackson. What I would have done is Louise Street, which is 2 lanes, make it one way.
Mhm.
Use one of those lanes. So if you have one way, you can put parked cars, 1 lane of traffic, parked cars, bike lane,
Yes.
all going one way. Do that southbound, whatever you want to do. And then 1 block over, you have Jackson, which you can make one way in the other direction. These are both quiet residential neighborhoods with slow moving traffic. Instead, now we took the big bustling boulevard. Cars are no longer using it, and they are now using the quiet residential streets, which are no longer quiet residential streets.
Yeah.
It was a fantastic failure of city planning. I am not anti-bike, but I would have done that project in a much better way. They would have promoted riding your bicycles along quieter residential streets.
Now you have people on Howard, on Isabel, on Geneva bolting up those streets to get to Mountain.
Yep.
For what? Because somebody wanted to ride their bike.
Mhm.
This is all
But ride their bike from what? From Mountain
from
to Glen
Mountain
Oaks?
to Glen Oaks.
That's cute. Yeah. And then what?
Yeah, why not continue down? Why not?
And
Why did you not continue down all the way to downtown Glendale where these so-called people work?
This is the rail project that never happened, and they spent tons of money.
Oh,
And this is going to be the same freaking thing.
No,
I would
they're actually
love
spending
it.
the money though. They're actually spending the money and they're painting
Well,
shit.
they were
And they're
spending the money on
making it
that too.
and they're making it look cute. Here's the thing, City of Glendale, you've got an Instagram page. If you're posting shit on your Instagram page and talking about the bike lanes and what the City of Glendale is doing, open up your comments,
Yes.
let the people
Right.
speak.
Mhm.
Stop silencing everybody because we're sick and tired of you guys posting shit online and then not allowing us to comment. And what, you're afraid of the comments? If you're afraid of the comments, stop posting shit on Instagram. It's as simple as that.
What we did though, what we did, right, there was, so the day before the last city council meeting where they were unveiling their grand master plan of 90 miles of bicycle lanes at a cost of $500 million to do all of them. You know, we, on my account put out, you guys put out, GUSD parents put out, show up to the Glendale City Council meeting and make your voice heard. We had 125 people between showing up in person and making phone calls. 125 people showed up. They stayed to the bitter end at 3 a.m. So they say, oh, we tried to do outreach. Now tomorrow's meeting, there will be no public comment
Why?
because they're actually going to vote on it. So Artie, who was not there to listen to all of us, said, oh, I listened to everybody. So they're going to vote on it in a session that has no more input. So if anybody's out there, what I would say is if you have your Tuesday night free, I would say let's do what the wokes do and go ahead and sit there and have a sit-in and not allow them to vote. Not allow them to vote. Make a ruckus. What are they going to throw all 100 people who are in that chamber out? So they are not allowing any further comments. And I think the people still need to talk about this. And there are, you know, there's the evil axis, the three stooges, I call them, on the city council, who are going to push this through, unfortunately, because they have sold their souls to things that are going to further their own careers.
So three people are going to decide on a $500 million budget, which we don't have $500 million.
Right. And so they're going to say, oh, it's over 20 years. So we missed our window to vote them out, right? We missed our window. There was a move to evict Ellen. People never actually materialized to sign up and collect signatures. So we have a lot of armchair activists who say they want change, but don't actually do the change. So this will be shoved down our throats until 2026 when there's another election. And then hopefully when Ellen and Dan are up for election, they are then voted out. First step is to find good candidates to put up against them.
Alex, can this be overturned at any point?
No, nothing's going to be overturned because this is a republic, right? So we don't vote on it directly. You need a simple majority, 3 out of 5 on the city council.
These
so
are the people that are representing us.
And again, unless you recall
Right.
one of the 5, but again, there was a move to evict Ellen. People initially showed interest, but then that tapered off. Armchair activists, that's fine if you want to do that, but so if people want to spearhead that, there are 11,000 signatures that must be collected for that to happen to put on the ballot.
So essentially 3 people are going to decide where tax money is going.
Well, 3 people are going to decide because they were elected, because the majority of the 110,000 registered voters in Glendale didn't stand up to elect their opponents.
Exactly.
And remember, guys, Ellen, who's part of this bike lane shenanigans, was the one that was ready to jump ship and become an assembly member, meaning we voted her in, or certain people voted her in 2 years ago to become a council member. She was ready to abandon her position and become an assembly member.
She's a career politician.
Well, there you go. This goes back to what I was saying about Laura Friedman. Laura Friedman was a council member at the city of Glendale. She was a glorified mayor. And then she moved up her ladder, and that's what Ellen is.
Mm-hmm.
And she proved it. She proved it within 2 years. It wasn't even like Laura, where she sat for at least 8 years as far as Glendale City Council. She did it. She was like, you know what? Let me just make my way up the ladder really quickly. Let me do it in 2 years instead of 8. But this is what it is. I know a lot of you say, well, my vote doesn't really matter. No, it does. Local politics, it does. Yeah, we know Joe Biden, he got 81 million votes in 2020. That's a different story in its own. But in local politics, ladies and gentlemen, please listen carefully. It matters. It really, really, really matters. Whether it's for city council, whether it's for District 30 Congressional District, it matters. It really, really does. Believe it.
I don't know. Tonight's show is brought to you by who?
Tonight's show is brought to you by the law offices of Armand Grigorian. If you've been involved in an automobile accident and you need an attorney, you literally have an attorney on speed dial, and you can call his cell phone, 818-404-0333, law offices of Armand Grigorian. Again, this is his cell phone number, 818-404-0333. And again, Armand mentioned that as well. His cell phone is literally on him. If
you call my cell phone, I'm not going to answer.
Exactly.
But now, thanks to the new upgrade of iPhone, Apple, as you're leaving a voicemail, I could read your voicemail and decide to pick up.
Mm-hmm.
It was funny because somebody was leaving me a voicemail a couple of weeks ago, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I need to answer this. I pick up. She's like, hello? I said, yeah, it's me. Like, I was leaving you a voicemail. I said, I know. I interrupted your voicemail to answer your call. Now, with Armand, there is no interruption. The guy's going to pick up your phone. And I am one, if I work with somebody, an attorney, a physician even physicians, I need to have their personal cell phone number. I love to text them, let them know, hey, Alex, I just got my blood drawn. Let me know how it looks. I don't want to wait for your assistant to call me, Mr. Garabian, we got your results back. Can you show up on that? And I'm like, what the fuck? I need to show up now? No, I want Dr. Balekian to text me directly. Here with Armand Grigorian, directly you call him on his cell phone. Boom.
There you go.
Also, one more to the Glen Arden Club. Thank you so much for the space that we're currently using.
Definitely. Big shout out to the Glen Arden Club as well.
Yeah. Listen, guys, if you're a cigar connoisseur, you love to sit down, network, chit chat with the who's who of Glendale, you want to be a member at Glen Arden Club, honestly. Because over the last few months, some of the people I've met here in Glen Arden Club, I was like, "You're who?" They're like, "Yeah, I run this company." I'm like, "You run that company?" Because I've been ordering so and so things from you for the last 15 years. They're like, yeah, I own that company. Oh, okay. And then I swear, and then a few weeks later, you'll be sitting down here like, so, yeah, I'm Armand. Who are you? I'm John. John, which John? Yeah, I used to be the distributor of Ferrari for North America. Like, oh, you used to be. I wanted to buy a Ferrari, but I went with the Camry instead. I swear that's the type of people you meet here.
If you're into networking and you're an entrepreneur, or even if you're not an entrepreneur, if you're into the networking game and you're interested in becoming a member at the Glen Arden and meeting some extraordinary people, send us a DM. We'll get you in connections with the boys at the Glen Arden, and we'll help get you a membership at the Glen Arden Club, and you can begin your entrepreneurship, your networking journey here as well.
It's almost as easy as a YMCA membership.
Absolutely.
Say hashtag wise nuts and you get a little bit of a discount.
Without the hassle.
Can we not make promises that we can't keep?
We'll keep that promise. Don't worry about it.
All right. We just want.
You know what that reminds me of? My cousin years ago used to have a, I guess it was kind of a wholesale store for men's
Tampons.
shirt. Well, that's Tim Walz. We'll get to Tim Walz. Suits and button shirts and all that. He's like, anytime a Jewish client came in, be like, he knew they had to negotiate the hell out of it. Sorry, am I making you uncomfortable?
No.
Okay. So they would come in, they're like, how much is the shirt? For you, it's $80. Why for me? Because he's like, I know you're going to negotiate it down to 50, even though the cost is 50. I'm going to tell you 80 so you can negotiate from 80 down to 50.
So you could say 30 and I could say 60 and you could say 40 and I could say 50 and we all happy.
And you walk away happy. So same thing here, Joe. There's no, it's one price. We're not going to disclose the price. There's no Wise Nuts discount code. But if you mention Wise Nuts, we get an extra old fashioned on the show.
Well, I was gonna say if you're looking for a discount, chances are you don't want to be here.
or that. But I know we can continue to talk about what's going on in Glendale, but there's obviously so much more going on outside of Glendale and in the United States.
I thought the whole world revolved around Glendale.
Oh, absolutely it does, especially the bike lanes, definitely. But Glendale in its own, we keep telling people when it comes time for election, we need everybody to register. We need everybody to vote. I keep saying it like a broken record, but it's local elections actually matter. It's very, very important. You were saying 30% of people voted, right? Or 40% were registered to vote?
No, so barely 35% of people voted in the last election in March.
That's pathetic.
So 35% out of the registered voters.
Correct, yes.
That's pathetic.
Which is 110,000 are registered.
Yes.
So 30%.
So about 40,000 people out of the 110,000 voted.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, if you're not registered, we need you guys to register to vote because come November 5th, it is election day. District 30, Alex Balekian is going to be running against Laura Friedman. We need to win this seat. We need to make sure that District 30 is protected and is safe. And I promise you this, when the other districts see the changes that are made in District 30, people will wake up and people will understand that, my vote does matter. And the people that are in those seats that want the best for my district will actually take action like Alex will be taking action literally right after November 5th. Hopefully it is counted on November 5th.
And this is the largest Armenian congressional district in the country. 15% of the electorate here is Armenian. So Amot Mezi, if we cannot elect an Armenian.
Yeah. And listen, there's a reason why they're playing the Armenian card. Anthony Portantino, you go to his office, he has...
I've been to Artsakh 4 times.
Yeah, he's been to Artsakh 4 times, but his entire office is decked out in Armenian memorabilia, but what have you done for what have you really done for Armenians besides show up for PR stunts? But You know,
I'll tell you, it's not just that. Why did we get him? Because he wrote the Parent Silencing Act.
that's it. That was enough. That
Right.
was that was
Even
it.
though he says Armenians, he wrote a law that goes completely in the face against Armenian values, which is penalizing parents who speak out on behalf of their children at school board meetings. Laura Friedman voted for AB 1955, schools keeping secret from the parents if an activist teacher changes a child's pronouns or their assigned gender. That teacher is legally protected. That goes against values of home and family that we as Armenians stand for. That's all you need to know.
And with the homeless crisis going on and everything going on in District 30, look, outside of Glendale, outside of Burbank, where, you know, we have a little bit more saying as far as the homeless encampments, or thank God for, you know, our Glendale PD, our Burbank PD for being so on top of the homeless crisis. You leave these outskirts, you go into Echo Park, you go into Silver Lake, where, and even Tahunga Sunland, where that is District 30 as well.
Yep.
You see what's going on with the encampments. You see what's going on with the homeless crisis. That is slowly making its way into the Tri-Cities, the Pasadenas, the Glendales, the Burbanks. We want to avoid that. We want to get the right person in that seat. So instead of the homeless coming in, they're literally pushed out. So November 5th, if you aren't registered, please, 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 please register. Alex Balekian, Congressional Seat 30. Alex Balekian, Congressional Seat 30.
I just had one more
I mean,
question.
I don't know how many
sorry.
times I
And
could
I'm
say
just,
it.
I'm going to correct you. We're not pushing the homeless out. We are diagnosing their mental illness. We are diagnosing their drug abuse. We are getting them the help that they need. We are allowing them to turn their lives around so that they can actually be productive members of society and can re-enter. Because shoving them into a different district is what has happened and keeps getting us into this problem.
Oh, very, very well said. Well, what was that old building? The one on Louise and Colorado that's now
Oh.
abandoned.
Is it abandoned?
It is abandoned. The Salvation Army building.
Oh.
That used to be a homeless shelter. That used to allow people to go in there, actually sleep in a bed, shower, and then, you know, they would let them out into society, cleaned, ready to go out and actually serve a purpose. That Salvation Army is now abandoned, isn't it?
I believe so. Yeah, it's I don't.
Why
it's
not?
boarded up.
Why not reopen that up? Do we not have the funds for it? Oh yeah, that's right. We're building bike lanes. Forgot.
Look,
Well, again, it's not so. I'll tell you this: Burbank is taking that old Colton piano brick building. You see it when you exit the Verdugo,
yes,
right as you go.
Hollywood Piano.
Yes,
yeah.
or Hollywood Piano. You see it there, and so they are turning that into homeless housing. They are not. It's just going to be a dorm, right? It's going to be an animal house, the dorm. They're not pairing it with drug abuse counseling. They're not hiring case managers. They're not hiring social workers. It's simply putting a roof over their heads.
Stunt.
It's going to turn into a drug den.
It is, because look, my office is literally maybe a mile away from there, and I've had a homeless issue at my office building since I've been there, 16 years. The current guy there, who's been there for about 4 years, I watched him. He came in a Prius one day. He said, "Look, I don't have money for gas." So I gave him some money for gas. 2 weeks later, I see him. I said, "Where's your car?" "Oh, I had to sell it." So he's kind of progressed from that point to where he's been full on homeless for the last 4 years. Today, he saw me. He goes, "Hey, can you give me some shampoo?" So what happened? I gave it to you a couple of days ago. He goes, "Oh, they stole it." So I gave him more shampoo today. Shampoo that I order for my patients. But a few months ago, Joe Arno and I had a discussion. I said, "Why don't we try to convince this guy? Let's do a documentary on him via the Wise Nuts, where we turn his life around. We rent a hotel room for him. We shower him up, clean him up, try to get him a job." Because he used to do cleaning services for office buildings. That was his business. Several times I offered him that. I said, "Hey, Steve, why don't we, I want to help
Fix
you
your life."
Yeah,
Yeah.
fix your life back. And he's like, "With what?" I said, "We'll get you cleaned up. I'll get you housing and we'll wash." He's like, "I'll let you know. I don't know if I want to do that." He has no interest in doing that.
Right. So does he have mental illness or drug addiction or both? I mean, drug addiction is a mental illness.
Look,
it's a form of mental illness.
I haven't personally seen him do drugs. He'll drink a little bit.
Nobody saw the dean of USC Medical School doing drugs until somebody actually caught a hooker that he was with have a near overdose.
Yeah.
So there are plenty of functional drug addicts out there.
Possibly, but because I haven't personally seen him using any drugs myself, I don't know. He has normal conversations with me, but then he'll repeat himself.
Mhm.
Like, today he was like, I have to go pick up my cell phone. I don't know what time I'm going to get there. I said, but last week you were telling me about picking up your cell phone. Yeah, I lost the money. I ended up going to the movies.
Yeah,
There's
so
always a story.
a lot of these people will have some sort of, paranoid or schizoaffective personality disorder. The problem is the drugs nowadays, the synthetics, even if you didn't have brain damage to begin with, mental illness to begin with, the synthetic drugs are so powerful and so toxic to your neurons that they cause irreversible brain damage. They cause mental illness, schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder in people who never had it in the first place. And so we know that is an unfortunate consequence of all these synthetics, which is why I think we need to come down harder on countries like China, where they say, it's not okay in our country, it's punishable by death, but they have no problem sending the raw materials over to Mexico.
Mhm.
This is actually quite interesting. I'm just going to go off on a tangent here. If you've never been to Hong Kong, the Hong Kong Museum actually has an exhibit on the Opium Wars. And the Opium Wars were a war waged by the British, of course. And this is how they ended up getting Hong Kong, is because they had a trade deficit with China. And so they wanted all this, China, like porcelain, they also tea. Then China's like, we don't want your crap from England. So they said, what can we do to offset this trade deficit, which is, right, we have a trade deficit now with China, right? We get all their stuff. They don't want any of our stuff. So they said, what can we give them? And so they said, oh, we'll hook them on opium. So at the time where they owned India, they actually made India this giant opium poppy den. And they sold it to China, and they hooked the entire country on drugs until the emperor at the time said, I'm going to clean this up. And he just, like the Boston Tea Party, burned all of their opium in the bay, in Halong Bay, which is when the Brits are like, okay, we're going to take this sign of aggression. They spanked the Chinese Navy, and then that's when they got the 99-year lease on Hong Kong. So if you look, this is payback for the Opium Wars, for the Brits hooking their country on drugs a century and a half ago.
Mhm.
And they're just returning the favor to us now.
Mm.
Yo, like when I got back here, you guys talking about mental illness and brain damage. I thought you were talking about Joe Biden.
Oh, yeah. No, it's just the top 1% of realtors.
Thank God I'm not part of that shit. Oh, geez.
Also, one question, Alex. I think we missed it. Who is endorsing you right now?
Oh, yes.
So right now, endorsements. Okay, we have the California GOP. We have the Association of LA Deputy Sheriffs. We have Erin Friday, who's from Our Duty Group. She's, one of the OGs for the parental rights movement. We have Frank Rodriguez, who is also from the parental rights movement. We have Vivek Ramaswamy, who endorsed us. We are trying to get a couple of other key endorsements. We have former LA County Supervisor Mike Antonovich. We're trying to get current Supervisor Catherine Barger. I'm also trying to get former DA Jackie Lacey, who was voted out with George Gascon. But the ones that we have gotten, I already named for you.
Nice. Yeah, that's great. That's great. What are you guys talking about there?
What? Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Locally, I'm sorry. We also have Ar Najarian. Yes, the anti-gay bigot himself endorsing a gay candidate. Yes.
Really?
Yes.
The anti-gay bigot himself. Wow.
Are we anti-gay bigots as well?
The biggest.
Some would consider, yeah. Some would consider us.
For sure. I mean, that's what they're labeling us with.
I mean, we do have a gay candidate sitting here with us that we're endorsing as well.
That's like your black friend, though, so it doesn't count.
Oh, jeez. Anyways. Come November 5th, Alex Balekian, he will be on the ballot again. It's like a broken record, but I got to keep saying it so people could listen to this shit. Congressional seat 30. Yeah. If you aren't registered, please register. If you need help registering, reach out to Alex's office. Reach out to us. We'll help you register as well. If you need help filling out your damn ballot, reach out to us. We'll help guide you as far as, this is how you bubble it. It's not rocket science, ladies and gentlemen.
Did you want to go over your questions? Did I speak too much?
No. This is
We have
off
so
the-
many current
Okay.
events.
This is
we haven't
current
touched
events,
on,
bro.
huh?
This is
All
all
right.
current events.
We can do lightning speed, or else just answer the questions that I can't even see the comments.
Yeah, I mean, because Joe, I want to get to everything Alex related before we digress.
That's perfectly fine. That's
Do we have any questions?
I'm sure there's a ton of questions. Let me look it up and I'll start posting them.
Okay.
Before
So-
we digress, let's get rid of Joe's square.
I don't think we can at this point. I think the damage is done today.
I'm just in my square, man.
Sorry,
This is
Joe.
what happens.
It's like
when
Superman 2, where they were like imprisoned in those square glasses.
Yeah.
Remember those?
when Vic from Meadow Snare is not here helping us with production, we've got squares on. It's a good
Right
thing
here.
we don't have a testicle on your
At
forehead
least it's
there.
following me. It's like
Well, it's focusing on your face. That's the thing.
obvious.
Well, we know the camera works and the focusing works on it. But anyways, so look, we've been gone for quite some time. As we mentioned, beginning of July was one of our last episodes. And as soon as we went off air,
July 8th.
July 8th, a bunch of shit went down.
Bunch of shit.
We before you get into that,
Tell me.
we have I want to get a few questions in as well.
All right.
Are there any bills? Here we go. Here's a question from Daniel K. Are there any bills, resolutions that he will try to introduce if elected?
Yeah. So one of the things that I would introduce is, again, a bill to expel Turkey from NATO. A lot of people don't know that the NATO charter doesn't have rules on how to expel members. It only has them to bring them in. So the rules are ours to write. And I think it's fertile territory to expel somebody like Turkey that has recently blackmailed us for all those F-16 fighter jets. Another pet project of mine. I am a one issue voter. My one issue is a balanced budget. So I would like to introduce a law that says that if you don't have, let's say, if 3% over 3 years, if you exceed that, then the people don't get paid. So if, for example, the deficit for a single year exceeds 3%, then that year, all the congressional members who voted to pass that will not get paid. And that would also include their staffers. Other things that I would like to introduce are term limits, not only for senators and representatives, but also for their staffers. I want to do a 6-year term limit for the staffers. People don't know that the Peace Corps has a 4-year term limit. Why? Because they want to get fresh faces, fresh perspectives in. Also, there's now only a 1-year moratorium for working for a lobbyist. I want to turn that into a 6-year moratorium. So what happens is when there are congressional staffers or even old representatives who leave Congress, they keep their connections and they trade on those connections by working for lobbyists and getting paid a crap ton of money and saying, I have access to the people who introduce the bills. I have access to the people who write the laws, and I will trade my access for 6 figures per year. So those are some things, but mostly there's so many laws that make our lives cumbersome. I want to find those laws. I want to repeal them. I believe that a government should focus on the health, the wealth, and the security of its own citizens, and it should do so with as few rules and regulations as possible, because more laws create more loopholes that the well-connected people can go through, and then the rest of us get screwed by.
The middle class.
Yes.
It's always the middle class.
Are we still middle class or?
Bro, at this point, honestly, I don't even know. I really don't. Because the cost of living has become so high that sometimes I think I'm like, oh, Jesus, man, should I start applying for EBT?
Yesterday we went to Costco. I hadn't been. Typically, we need something, we'll just order it from Costco.com. So yesterday we took a family trip to Costco.
9 hours later.
And $900 later?
One cart, $800. One
Jesus
cart.
Christ.
I was close.
One cart.
Bah. If you had stolen it, they would not have stopped you.
Right? I was below the 950 threshold. I swear, I'm like, one card.
Show me my receipt. I don't show you my receipt. You just
Yeah.
walk out with it.
And I love it when I always give the receipts to one of my kids. They give it to me and they always put a smiley face. I'm like, fucker, it's $800. I don't need a smiley face. Just,
As if they even know what's on there. When they grab it, they look through it, they go,
yeah, you know.
all right, looks like everything's there.
Yeah, that Rolex watch you got, it's on here. No, it's not. It's a panties. But I $800 for one card.
Yep.
Bro, I've left Costco with like 7 things in the cart, and then this was a couple weeks ago actually, and I wanted to post it on social media, but my wife was like, just leave it alone. But I look at my cart and there's like probably like 7 things inside, and I'm looking at the receipt and they don't correlate together because the receipt says $170, but the cart says like $20.
Yeah, that's why at a family meeting I said, "Listen, kids, boys, no more blackberries. You're eating Oreos and leftover Cheerios. No blackberries, no blueberries, no avocados. Fuck you guys. I don't care if you think it's healthy for you. We're done with this bullshit. Unless you want to drive Uber." Like,
you're gonna eat me at a house
they're like,
alone.
yeah, I was like, Papa,
We're all eating taquitos and tacos for the next couple
They
weeks.
said, Papa, are we tall enough to drive Uber? I said, bitch, if you can drive a K1, what's that, go-kart, yeah, you can drive Uber.
Yeah, there you go.
So, yeah, you're 48 inches. You can
Oh,
drive Uber.
jeez. Well, hopefully things.
So, yeah, my sons are working right now while I'm here bullshitting. so they can
Living
pay
the American dream.
So they can pay for their avocado.
Their avocado toast. Oh, jeez. Anyways, all right. Are we ready, Joe? Are we?
Yeah, we got. We're ready to go. Whatever
right.
you want to do.
Joe, I'm sorry you're in that box, bro.
I just love this box, bro. I mean,
sorry.
I'm
sorry.
That's what they say in Armenian.
I can't believe we didn't see that box
Well,
before we
you
were.
didn't see it.
Well, I mean, you were looking at the damn computer. It didn't show up. Okay.
It's all right, man. Let's not talk about a box.
No, I don't think anyone's noticed. We keep on bringing it up. It's like
It's like a mole on somebody's
I
face.
just got like 8 texts for it. It's like no big deal.
yeah, nobody notices Joe limps. Unless
Yeah.
if you keep on bringing it up, then they're gonna know.
That's
Joe
his crip walk.
Well, he's got a peg. Well, he's got a prosthetic. That's why.
Yeah, of course.
he got it from China, from
Yeah.
Temu.
Yeah,
Wish,
yeah.
His orthopedic surgeon said, "Listen, bro, it's gonna cost you 12 grand." If you said, "Fuck you, I'll order it from Temu for $73."
Yeah, it only took 7 months to get here, but the size was the actual size. It wasn't like the miniature version, like most of the shit that comes from Temu. But
That's why I
anyways,
got the limp.
yeah, that's why he's got the limp. Anyways, as we were saying, July 13th was it was a very shocking day for a lot of us. There was an attempted assassination on a former president of the United States. And you can actually speak about this in history by just like 9/11 was. Everybody knew where they were on July 13th when you heard the news that there was an attempted assassination on Donald Trump. And, we texted each other, Armand, Joe, and I, and we were like, holy shit, bro, somebody shot at Trump. And quickly, you quickly grab this and you go, where was it? How did it happen? And for those of you living under a rock, we actually have the footage. I know this was I know this was about a month ago, but Joe,
I think we're late.
we are late. We apologize, but again, there
Some
are
people think we've been living under a rock.
for those of you
All
living
these
under a
fuckers
rock.
took 9 weeks to talk about it.
We weren't in the country. Joe, can we play the footage of it
here
really
we go.
quickly?
Here we go.
Said, take a look at what happened.
I mean, I've probably watched it like 100,000 times, bro, at this point.
When I first saw it, I thought it was staged. I'm like, there's no way this happened.
What were your thoughts on it when you first saw it?
I mean, I didn't know what to think. I was at DFW airport. I was transiting when I just saw it. Nobody else had seen it, but you could actually see everybody in the terminal when they actually got the notification on their phone and how they're, looking at each other. And then finally they showed it on the television. People are glued to the television. I don't know what I think of it. What I think of it is not important. The fact that we have forgotten about it, and within 72 hours, the news cycle had moved on to something else.
15-second attention span.
Yeah, and this is, just who talks about it? President, there was an attempted assassination on a president.
Last time that happened?
Reagan, yes.
Reagan was the last one.
Right, there was an attempted assassination on a
40
president.
years ago.
Right, and so, but the fact that we've forgotten about it, I don't know what it says about us or about the news cycles.
I don't think we forgot about it. they made us forget about it because they stopped talking about it. And even if you attempted to search on Google, it wouldn't automatically come up.
And there's
If
a
you-
reason behind
If
that.
you put Trump A, it's supposed to come as you would expect assassination.
Right.
Nothing.
No, it's like
It took them a few days to go back and fix that because there were a lot of complaints about that. So you couldn't even research it.
Right.
And yet you've got this 20-year-old kid, 22 was he 20 or 22?
20-year-old Pennsylvania native who basically his name was Thomas Cooks. That's who it was.
130 yards away, which is that's a perfect spot for Secret Service and your snipers to be sitting there. Not the guy who's trying to
Right.
assassinate the presidential nominee,
Mhm.
right?
Well, I mean, it was a perfect spot for him to be.
I understand, but the fact that
He was there.
he was there
yeah.
and they knew about him 26 minutes, almost 27 minutes prior to the shooting.
So,
Go ahead,
yeah.
Joe.
Well,
So it comes back down to the bigger question: is are you guys surprised that this happened?
We're not.
Yes.
I'm not surprised at the assassination attempt. What I'm surprised at is, like, this was like child's play. I mean, really, 130 yards away. And you have the Secret Service lady who can't even pull out her.
So this is interesting. Let me interject with this. Prior to this, Trump, was it afterwards? It was prior to it. Yeah, so prior to this, Trump had come to Orange County in Beverly Hills for a fundraiser. And there had been emails that had gone out. And so my husband, James Clark, was recruited as a driver in a black car to drive around the president in his motorcade.
No.
I swear to God.
For James to drive President Trump's
So
motorcade.
there were a bunch of them. So they got together and they were given instructions and they said, okay, so they went through a background check with Secret Service. But so why I'm saying this is apparently Donald Trump rightfully doesn't trust government services, secret services, that he wants people from grassroots organizations, from Republican organizations that he knows are going to be sympathetic to him. And so a couple of local, organizations put out to their mailing lists and James was on it. And he volunteered. I was up working, so he volunteered. And so he drove, he can't say who because, signed an NDA exactly, but there were high-ranking people within the Republican Party, and then somebody else was driving Trump. But these were average Joes that were driving them around.
What do you mean by that, Alex?
Average Joe,
Not you, Joe.
But these were average Jameses who were driving them around. And so because he didn't trust Secret Service, and he said, same as when he goes, gets a Big Mac because he doesn't want to be poisoned. He says, if I go to McDonald's and there are hundreds of Big Macs just sitting there, and I get one just off the rack, nobody's going to know which one to poison if they're gonna get me. So that's, again, this was an example of how he didn't trust what he calls the deep state and the government. And a few weeks later, you were proven correct because there was gross incompetence, gross mismanagement on behalf of Secret Service, which should have anticipated him being there, saw him there, did not act on it, hesitated, possibly to the detriment of Donald Trump and to his life.
Well, he saved his own life by literally turning his head a couple inches.
Because he wanted to show the immigration slide.
Yeah, he didn't know. I mean, I'm just thinking about it. What if we saw that man's brains blown out on live television?
And
It would have been Kennedy 2.0.
No, well, the trajectory of world history would have changed.
Absolutely.
I mean, completely.
Well, the trajectory did still change, guys. Understand this. Something happened that day. Something happened that day where a former president was shot at. A piece of his ear was obviously snipped off. He fell. He dropped right away. Because when the shots took, he grabbed his ear and he dropped right away. And then the Secret Service kind of, shielded him. And there was a photo taken of him. And I'm sure you guys saw that photo of him crouched down with the blood dripping down his cheek.
Mm-hmm.
He could have continued to lay there and Secret Service drag him, throw him in the back of an SUV, And the media would have never said anything. The news would have said, "Oh, attempted assassination. Thank God he was safe." Bro, this guy stood up after getting shot and said, "Fight," and pumped his fist, proving that, dude, he's a different animal.
He's built.
He's built different.
But
That alone changed the trajectory of a lot of people's views.
But here's what I don't understand. Speaking of hiring James to be his driver,
Mhm.
what's the cost of hiring a PMC, right? A private military service. What's the cost? Not a lot. Couple million for the next 3 months. You've got how many days left till November 5th? Well, you said 84 days,
84 days.
right? 84 days. Even, I mean, $5 million.
Mhm.
And this conversation took place with the high-ranking snipers. Like, what would it cost? They did the math. It's like a couple $1 million for the next 3 months.
Uh-huh.
Pay $5 million, have the top security.
Who pays $5 million?
Trump.
No, but Trump is a former president. In the charter of the Secret Service is that they must protect the former president for life.
Yeah, and that was
He is
signed
now
by
also.
Biden.
He is now no.
No,
That is
by Obama. Obama was the one that passed that law, if I'm not mistaken.
no. That's been there. That's been there since previously.
Somebody could fact check me, but I believe Obama was the one that passed that law that for the rest of the president's life,
Mhm.
the Secret Service owes them.
And-
Maybe I'm wrong, but somebody could fact check
And also,
me.
the Secret Service must protect a viable presidential candidate. So somebody who's been nominated as their party's candidate
Mhm.
should also have Secret Service protection.
But you know the FBI fucked you over for the last 7-8 years.
The
right.
FBI? Just the FBI?
With the whole Russian collusion.
Well, it wasn't
This-
just the FBI. It was practically the entire anything with 3 letters, acronyms,
Right.
was
So how do you trust these guys? Secret Service? How do you trust them? What's $5 million to Trump? Nothing. I mean, he could raise that in 5 minutes,
kind of did.
right?
Oh.
$5 million, hire your own private security, top of the top elite, former Navy SEALs, Green Berets, whatever you want, Marines, this, that. Why do you need the fucking government Secret Service who the lady couldn't even pull out her gun from her holster? She looked like she was at Chuck E. Cheese playing duck hunt. Like,
Right.
what do I do? Like,
Right. I mean,
come on, bro.
Again, it has those things about policies and procedures where a federal agency should be able to communicate freely with a state agency, should be available to communicate freely with a local agency.
They did not, though. They had different
Right.
frequencies.
Right. So if you have government to government, that communication should be there. But if you say, "Oh, I am a private contractor," for example, so a private contractor, for example, you would need federal clearance, right, to access certain records of theirs. What I'm saying is, as far as cooperation goes,
There's a process basically
there's-
behind it.
yeah, there's a process. You can't just
But
have your private person there.
You don't need a federal clearance because you're not in a federal building. You're in a public park.
My
wherever
whole
it was,
point is that
you know.
our tax dollars are supposed to pay for adequate security.
Yeah.
We should not have to be looking for yet another service that we are all going to pay for.
Yeah, but when you got the head of Secret Service saying, the slope on that
Cheeto lady?
building was
Yes.
dangerous for our guys to be on the sniper. The slope was
slope,
what? The
yeah.
slope was almost as dangerous as this glass
Mhm.
table here.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me? You could play chess on that slope. What do you mean it was too dangerous?
Yeah.
It just doesn't add up. And
Sorry, what got me the most is that when CNN and all these other leftist leading news agencies, they never cover Trump's live speeches, and all of a sudden, all of them decided to cover it that day.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
some
His
reason.
rallies were never televised by CNN and MSNBC.
I mean, I'm not trying to get into like conspiracy theories, but it's just, don't you guys find that kind of weird?
It-
that
it-
it's as if they wanted his brains to be projected
Well,
everywhere.
no, they wanted to make sure that they were televising it if it were to take place.
I
and
mean,
you're
let's
absolutely
not
right.
assume. Let's not assume. But I mean, it's suspicious.
it's not
Yeah.
assumed when you also have an FBI lady sitting there with her hat.
Was it confirmed though
And
before we spread
yes,
anything?
and when the shot took place, she almost doesn't even twitch.
Flinch.
Yeah, she didn't
Well,
flinch.
she pulled her phone out to make sure she gets a recording of it.
Exactly.
I mean,
Hey guys, I'm on Instagram right
Yeah,
now.
I mean, all that was left was for her to turn around and actually do a selfie video.
I mean, naturally, that's what you do.
but
when
yeah,
someone
no,
gets shot,
CNN was televising that rally. When does CNN televise a Trump rally?
That's
Well,
what I'm
very
saying.
Harris
It's kind
is
of weird.
They don't. But I mean, this kind of goes back to something Andrew Tate said a couple years back, because Andrew Tate was canceled on social media, and then he was thrown in jail, and then he said one thing, and I'm going to quote this by Andrew Tate. He says, "First you get canceled, then they make up a reason to put you in jail, and if all else fails, they will kill you." So what happened to Trump? He was canceled on Twitter. They found a reason
Not
to
only
throw him in
Twitter,
jail.
no,
Yes,
not only Twitter,
Instagram,
everywhere.
on social media. They canceled him. They found a reason to throw him in jail. And so far, within a matter of a couple of years, we all witnessed it, that those both failed. And then at the end, what did they try to do? They tried to kill him. This goes back to what the left-wing progressive Democratic Party has been trying to shove down.
Allegedly.
Has been allegedly trying to shove down
Allegedly.
everybody's throat.
Mhm.
Ever since Trump has ran for president, all you've been hearing from the Democratic Party is the shit that we've been hearing about ourselves in Glendale. Nazis, fascists, racists, KKK members, blah. It's been labeling. That's all it's been. And they know it's not true. They know he's not a freaking Nazi. They know he's not Hitler. They know he's not going to ruin the Constitution. But they throw that shit out there into social media, into the media, into the news, and hope somebody listens to it and hope somebody understands that, oh, you know what? There might be a hint of truth in that. And what happened was this Cook's kid kept listening to this shit over and over and over and believed that this man is Hitler. This man is a Nazi. And what do I have to do to the Nazi?
You think he made that decision based on the media's feedback, and you don't think he was just a basically sacrifice?
You think he was a sacrifice, or you think he literally went out there because they labeled this man as whatever he was?
A 20-year-old kid?
Why not?
I mean, we could always put the footage
don't know.
and show what the media's been showing all this time.
Because a 20-year-old kid, bro, these guys can't even order their own Coke.
I mean,
oh, do I order?
forget them. I've been called a Nazi. I've been called an extremist. This isn't just at the national level. And not that I want to interrupt this, but I also want to say that the news media have been very good at distracting all of us. They're talking about Trump. They're talking about Biden. They're talking about Kamala. Who is talking about homelessness and drug use? Who is talking about all these people, this guy that's out on your front lawn? Who is talking about the fact that we have these bicycle lanes chewing everything up? Who's talking about the crime that's going unpunished?
Why would they though?
Right, but what
not
I want
sexy.
to what I want to say is this is a distraction, right? So the president doesn't write any laws. Congress writes laws. The state assembly writes laws. So the important elections, people's attention is being distracted from. This is not unintentional. So as much as it's interesting and it sells commercial time to talk about this thing, Trump's assassination attempt, it doesn't affect our day to day. It doesn't affect our day to day because the border will still continue to be porous and fentanyl will continue to come across the border, right? Our gas taxes will still continue to be high. So all this stuff, although it's interesting to talk about, I just want to let people know that it's a distraction.
But how do you attempt an assassination on a former president as a distraction, though? How is that a distraction?
What I'm saying is talking about it, like all this bluster. It's like that character in Peanuts, Pigpen, right? It's got that dust cloud go around him, right?
Yes.
Wherever he goes,
Yes.
just got that dust cloud around him. That's just what it is. And you just have to wait for that dust cloud to settle.
But when it settles, it's always too late.
The frivolous lawsuits, I agree, were distractions. He raped me in the women's changing room in 1987, and then she's like, "Well, no, it wasn't rape. rape is a sexy thing about like with Anderson Gould. That's a distraction. But when you attempt to kill somebody, a MAGA movement, which we haven't had. I mean, when's the last time we had a collective of 45 or however many million people that are this cult-driven, supporting Trump regardless of what he does?
They keep pushing it. It's going to happen, though.
No. My point is...
It hasn't happened, but I'm saying... I mean, go ahead. Sorry.
No, yeah, my point is you can't distract those people. No matter what he does, there are those tens of millions of people, regardless of what Trump does, whatever comes out, they're still voting for him. Just like the people who hate Trump are going to vote for Kamala Harris, which could be 60 million, which could be 70 million. I don't know what that number is going to be. Because I promise you there aren't more than maybe 1 million or 2 million people that are actually going to vote for Kamala Harris because of who she is.
Right.
They're voting because they hate Trump.
Right.
I mean, if Kamala was going to make the promises that she's making, I mean, she's already in office, right? Why doesn't she just do it?
No, yeah, which is the simplest thing is vote for me and I'll fix the border. Okay, bitch, you've been on fucking vice president for 4 years.
She was border czar that apparently she wasn't.
You're gonna vote for me and I'll fix it.
She hasn't been to Europe either.
That's unfortunately how our elections have gone this last, right? So in 2016, Trump didn't technically win. Hillary lost, right? More people voted against Hillary because she was just such a deplorable individual.
Right.
And then in 2020, a lot of people didn't vote for Biden. A lot of people voted against Trump. And in 2024, if Biden remained the candidate,
they were going to vote against Biden.
Whoever was up against him, they were going to vote. So why are we in this situation where we just get these people? Why is it the system only allows to come to the top these people who are just not somebody that we want? It's just that we're voting for the lesser of two evils.
But see, I would agree with that. The only reason why I disagree is I know maybe some people, he's a Trumpster. Trump is his God. No, I'm not a Trumpster. What I look at is I've been reading Trump's books for the past 30 plus years before he became a politician or any of that. But if you go back and look at his videos, his interviews with Oprah and Donahue and Barbara Walters and all these guys, men, women, the interviews haven't changed since the 80s till 2024. It's the same thing. China's taking advantage of us. Japan is taking advantage of us, so on and so. Same interviews.
Right.
That has not changed. And that's what I respect about it.
It's like Bernie Sanders.
Yeah. So now all of a sudden it's like, well, he's a racist. He doesn't like blacks. He's like, where do we come up with all this bullshit when all the blacks in the rap videos were talking about Trump? I want to be like Trump. Trump's. He was in like what 27 or something.
We actually have a clip of that because Joe, get ready to pull that up really quickly.
Which one are we pulling up?
It's the one that's the one that's like 2 minutes long, but we won't play the whole thing. But I want to get everybody's viewing on this because this goes back to exactly what Armand was saying. They've been labeling him, the Nazi, the racist, the this, the that. When you go back and listen to what Trump says about Biden, he'll never label him something. I swear, go back and if you can find the clip and send it to us, we'll admit it on there that yes, you know what, he labeled him something. But
no, he'll label him like Sleepy Joe or whatever. But you're talking about
he won't attack him personally as far as insulting him, calling him a Nazi, calling him a racist. He won't say any of that. He'll say stuff like, for example, he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know where he is. Look what he's done with the country. He's failed at this. But you'll never hear him say, Joe's a racist, Joe's a Nazi, Joe's this. But this is what they've been doing to Trump for the past couple of years. Joe, can we play that clip real quickly?
Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic.
If reelected, he will be a dictator on day one.
MAGA Republicans do not respect the Constitution.
And I will, quote, terminate the United States Constitution.
Authoritarianism and totalitarianism.
A person who's telling them, I'm going to be a dictator.
Well, Hitler was duly elected.
That's right.
Right?
Autocracy and dictatorship.
The dehumanizing rhetoric of Adolf Hitler.
Who I got to vote for,
to keep Hitler out the White House.
There has never been an individual who is a greater threat to our republic than Donald Trump.
He's an existential threat to democracy.
I own it all. I am a dictator.
Like acts committed by a dictator, or even says he will be one.
I mean, that is Nazi imagery.
So dictatorial, authoritarian tendencies.
He wants to build camps for millions of people.
He will be a dictator on day one.
The term vermin was really effectively used by Adolf Hitler and by Mussolini.
Things that we see happening today is a sort of a sleepwalking into dictatorship in the United States.
He wants to assert autocratic powers. They've just given him a license for dictatorship.
Bro, that's all we've been hearing on the news.
My favorite part was Dick Cheney giving his
Yeah,
opinion.
but
like
so
the
this
guy
is
that destroyed Iraq,
right? Exactly. So the fact that you have Cheney somehow as the voice of reason means that something is wrong. But this has everything to do with messaging. It's all about marketing. You can have a mediocre product, but you can propagate it with expert salesmanship. Why? Simply because you persuade the consumer that he or she needs this product. Even if they may not need the product, you persuade that individual that he or she needs it. And so messaging, the Democrats are very good at getting their messaging across.
Not when it comes to Trump, though. Because look, Trump is a marketing genius. The fucking guy got shot in the ear. What does he do? He pumps his fist and say, fight, fight, fight. Who would do that? Would you do that? If I got shot in the ear, I'm not thinking, fuck marketing. Let me see.
No, he took full advantage of that, and that was
he
should have. He should have.
But what I'm
can I say something?
Would you do that, Joe?
If I'm survived, I don't know, man. I can't. I'm not even comparing.
You think you got shot in the ear? You're gonna think of marketing tactics?
Probably not.
Ronald Reagan won re-election in a landslide.
Why?
George Dukmajian won re-election in a landslide.
Okay.
What I'm saying is they were able to sell themselves and sell themselves to people. So
Right.
as the saying goes, you can get more flies with honey than vinegar.
Of course.
And Donald Trump, for better or for worse, has chosen to be vinegar. I would go about it differently. But what I'm saying is, if he marketed himself differently, might he get not just a bare majority of people, but an indisputable landslide majority of people?
He did, though. Look at the debate with him and Biden. He didn't market himself as the honey, not the vinegar anymore.
I mean, all you had to do is just stand back and let Joe Biden say 5 words and hope that some of them actually turned into a sentence.
But he had hundreds of opportunities to completely dismantle Biden.
Sure.
The only insult he made was
he doesn't know what he's talking about. I don't even know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Right. And so that
was the only insult.
And that was an exercise in self-restraint.
Yeah.
Has that been consistent as far as him selling himself in that way? Again, he does what he wants to. It's his campaign to run, and he runs it. But I think, look at George Dukmajian, look at Ronald Reagan with their re-elections and how they won in a landslide and how they sold themselves differently. Both of them had a strong economy, same as Donald Trump did.
Right. People swear by Dukmajian.
So how would you handle it if the media said Alex is anti-LGBTQ?
So I've said it myself. I say, I'm not a homophobe and neither is my husband.
Okay, but you're a gay man,
right?
So if they called you a homophobe,
yes,
how would you feel?
So again, I say I am not a homophobe and neither is my husband.
You say, but the media says Alex is a homophobe.
Sure, and that has not stuck,
which makes complete sense.
Right,
but that's what they're doing to Trump. It's like he doesn't want border control. We're going to control the border. Mm-hmm. You've been in office for 4 years. You've just opened the border. We got 12 million illegals in the country, if not more.
This goes back to what I was saying.
I mean,
the media and the Democratic Party will say something over and over and over, even though they know it's not true. They know they know he's not a Nazi. They know he's not a white supremacist, but they'll say it over and over and over until it sticks to somebody.
Right. It doesn't matter what they think. It matters whether the listeners will believe it.
So you know what it is? Honestly, man, they talk about political violence and not to get violent and all this stuff, but there are times in history where political violence has become the last resort. One of them being the American Revolution, the Civil War to free the slaves. The war on terrorism is another act of political violence that we took. That was a political violence towards a former president that took place because the left continued to push a narrative that they knew wasn't true, but they continued to push it and push it and push it. And then what does Biden do? Biden goes on air and says, what did he say? He said, do not label the other political party as our enemy. Motherfucker, for the past 4 years, you've been calling this guy a racist, a Nazi, and now you're pulling the rails back? It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way.
Look at what happened today. Elon Musk was supposed to interview Trump, right?
Yeah, and the internet crashed.
No. What did the European Union post?
I don't know. What did they post?
We're going to ban Elon Musk. Right? What was it ban? What term did they use, Joe?
I didn't see that one, but
the European.
I was preparing for this podcast, so I didn't really pay attention to them.
Right. But basically, the EU said, Elon Musk, if you don't censor Trump, we're going to ban you. What does that tell you?
It means nothing, though.
Oh no, you're talking about the UK that's cracking down on people.
No.
I saw that letter. Again, it means nothing because they have no social controls, right? People can still access the internet.
Of course they can. But here's what this is how. Look, I've been saying this since we started a podcast. The reason why I support Trump is because they don't. Mm-hmm. That's why I support him. Because there's a reason why they don't like him.
I didn't even like Trump until he started going for president.
Why do you want to put this? I mean, all these frivolous lawsuits and all this bullshit and claims and Russian collusion and then, the Mar-a-Lago, all this nonsense. Why? Why do you do that? That increases his popularity.
Among his base, yes. And again,
not just among his base, Alex. That's what
he just fatigues me.
Of course he does, because he's not diplomatic.
Right. And so it's all about, so for me, it's all about friction and efficiency. So I'm a science geek. So friction is a potential force, and friction is mass times acceleration. So it's your mass and your acceleration, and it works in opposition to your acceleration. So friction can be altered depending on how you move. And friction is a force that decreases your efficiency.
Right.
And so you can move in a certain way, speak in a certain way that decreases the friction, and you can still get to your end point by expending less energy. And so that is where I just get fatigued, because I pride myself on trying to get someplace as efficiently as possible, trying to get to a goal as efficiently as possible, and using as few resources as possible. Sure. And I feel that he could get so much more done if he simply did not create friction for himself.
Right. So let's go back when he was king of Manhattan. They were trying to build the ice rink. For 12 or 15 years, they couldn't build a fucking ice rink in Manhattan.
There's a lot of regulatory stuff in New York State,
yes,
and city.
Yes.
Yep.
And the mayor at the time was completely against Trump. Trump came in 6 months. He said, I'll build it. And he built it. Mm-hmm. Why? 15 years, 6 months, he built it.
So that I don't know. I don't know the specifics.
No, that's the artificial friction they create. Yep. Same thing now. It's like, listen, I want to close the border. During COVID, when COVID started, he said, listen, no flights from China. Pelosi was in fucking New York celebrating Chinese New Year in February 2020. And he said, we're going to shut down all transportation, no flights, nothing coming into the U.S. Yeah. Oh, you're a fucking racist. Am I a racist? Really? I'm taking it seriously. And then when he said, look, guys, it's not a big deal. We don't need to panic. They said, oh, he's not taking it seriously enough. So which
I believe what Alex is saying in regards to friction is the way he puts himself in a position where he always gets kind of like attacked, right? So I get what he's saying with the friction aspect of it, but that's Trump. That is Trump. That's his marketing tactic.
The friction,
he builds that.
The friction I don't agree with him is when he goes after the Rosie O'Donnells and LeBron Jameses of the world. Yeah, I don't agree with that. But what I do agree with is when there was an interview recently with those two black guys, I forget, when he sat down with the Al Qaeda leaders, he said, listen, we're going to leave Afghanistan. And if one hair goes missing from one of our Americans, I'm going to fucking kill you. And he says to the translator, translate to him. And he looks at him like, you want me to translate?
You want me to translate that?
Please translate that to him. And when after he finishes translating, he stands up, he gives him like a Google image of his
House.
home and says, gives it to him, and he walks out. To me, that turns me on. That's what I want as my leader. I don't want some guy saying, okay, guys, listen, we can probably negotiate something. I don't want that shit. I want him to say, listen, you fuck around, I'm going to kill you.
Fuck around and find out.
Yeah, find out. That's the type of leadership I want from the United States.
And I've said that a president should be strong and decisive and inspiring. And Joe Biden is none of those. He's frail, he's incoherent, and he's
What are you talking about? He's sharp. He's focused.
Amazing.
Joe, can we play the clip of Joe Biden?
Which one?
The one where that he is gonna be. He is the candidate for the Democratic Party. Can we play that clip real quick?
Let's see.
Was that before or after they tried
This was right after the debate, man. He was ready to go.
Repeatedly is our nominee.
He is in this race. The matter is closed.
Our nominee is Joe Biden.
Joe Biden is our nominee.
Joe Biden is our nominee.
Joe Biden is our nominee.
President Biden has made his decision. He is the Democratic nominee.
Biden is the Democratic nominee. Period.
Absolutely the president's in this race. You've heard him say that time and time again.
Our nominee is Joe Biden.
Joe Biden is our nominee. Joe Biden is our nominee.
Joe Biden is going to be the nominee unless otherwise stated.
Joe Biden is our leader.
Joe Biden is more committed than ever to beat Donald Trump.
He's our nominee. And the most important thing is we have to win in 2024.
He will be the Democratic nominee, and we will beat Donald Trump in November.
There you go.
Hey, I guess he was the nominee.
You see?
Joe Biden.
Joe Biden.
It's after the debate. I mean, not only myself. I think all of America knew that it was over. That he's gone. I want to hear this. Everybody who's watching on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. I want you to comment where you think Joe Biden is. Because have you guys heard from Joe Biden recently?
Alex, do you know when I knew? Not when, obviously.
That you were gay.
I was gonna wait till the next episode, man. Come on, you fucking had to.
Why do you think Edgar left the show?
So look, a few months ago, I had this 103-year-old woman move into my facility, sharp as can be.
Marbles.
Yes. So I'm not kidding.
Marbles are not sharp.
103-year-old. Obviously, before that, I knew who I support, but she used to read 2 or 3 books a week. Now she's down to 1 book a week. You know, that's tremendous, right? 103-year-old for anybody, but 103-year-old. And I've shared this story, I think, before. One day, I walk into her room. She's watching MSNBC. I said, what are you watching there? She goes, politics. I love politics. We're a political family. I said, oh, that's fantastic. I said, so who do you think is going to win? Biden, for sure, of course. I said, oh, you're supporting Biden, yeah? She goes, yeah. She goes, how about you? I said, look, I don't know much about politics. I'm just, I'm a healthcare guy. Whoever's good for America is who I support. She goes, so you're a Trump guy? Imagine that. All I said was, I support whoever is good for America. And she goes, so you're a Trump guy. Then what the fuck are you supporting? You've seen 35 presidents.
Ukraine.
You've been around since Abraham Lincoln. Like, you're telling me you support Biden, but the comment I made is whoever is good for America, you're a Trump guy? Like, can you justify that comment?
Again, it's a product, selling a product, right? So if that woman has been persuaded
for 103 years,
if that woman has been persuaded the product that she needs isn't necessarily the product that's best for her, right? she's going to buy the product that's been marketed to her better, because that is how she's been convinced by the messaging.
I didn't say what's good for you or for me. I said, I support whoever's good for America.
Right. So maybe that is not her priority. Maybe it's whoever's good for her, whoever doesn't piss her off. Right. And so she's willing to put her own feelings over the benefit of the country. I don't know.
I mean, she's been around longer than Biden himself.
She's old school Karen.
Maybe Biden's a fucking virtual vibrator for all these 103-year-olds.
Again, I hope look, I hope I'm wrong, but I really think Biden is dead, bro. A 6'7" Biden showed up the other day in front of the White House, bro. How the fuck did that guy grow like 3 feet in a matter of like 2 days? And people were saying, "Oh well, Jill wasn't wearing heels," and then you pan out, Jill's wearing heels. It's like, where is he?
That happened.
You didn't see that?
Yeah,
I wish I had that clip.
Oh
bro.
my god, that's the clip you should have gave me.
That's the clip. I didn't know he hadn't seen it, but you guys have seen that clip, right?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Bro, I'm not kidding you, bro. Like
I still think it's a camera angle.
James,
maybe.
were you
I don't know.
driving his what's it called? The motor? What's it called? Motorcade.
A Pope mobile.
Yeah, and I think Ed was his Secret Service bodyguard over there for Joe Biden.
The important thing is, did you guys see the Kamala's crowd?
The one with the airplane reflection.
Oh yeah,
the green screens.
I don't know. Alleged green screens.
So Joe Biden is officially out. Kamala Harris is now in. Oh, how do you say it where it's not racist? Kamala, right?
I mean,
Camel toe, but
Kamala, is it Kamala or Kamala?
Kamala.
Oh, it's
Kamala.
So camel toe.
So camel.
I mean, you can say Kamala, but it's almost like Pamela Anderson. Kamala.
Yeah. So Kamala Harris is now officially the Democratic nominee. And something interesting happened. So prior to the Democratic committee officially naming her the candidate, they put out something saying that they wanted to debate Donald Trump. And this is for all the quote unquote misinformation out there. Oh, this is a correction for all you schmucks. Donald Trump did refuse to debate Kamala Harris. He did.
On ABC.
On ABC. The reason why he refused to do it, because the Democratic committee had not yet nominated her unanimously to become the official Democratic candidate.
How does that even happen, though, when the people haven't voted?
Oh, well, it's not the people that voted. It's the Democratic committee that basically votes for them, or the delegates.
Right, so they're delegates,
they're
right?
delegates.
They haven't even had
I get it, but that didn't happen.
No, the convention happened. So she came out.
The convention hasn't happened yet.
It's this week, no?
Yeah, the convention has not happened yet.
Where was it when she came out and she actually announced that she's running as an official Democratic candidate?
Right. So it doesn't matter. It just matters who the delegates. So every state nominates delegates to go. It's same as when you have the electoral college, right? So your electors go to the electoral college, and the team that goes is based on whoever won the popular vote.
Okay.
So California has 53 now, Republican electors and 53 Democratic electors.
Okay.
And depending on who wins the popular vote, that team goes.
All right.
And those electors, though, they can elect whomever they want. So if you remember, they actually put it up in 2016, led by Martin Sheen and then a bunch of Hollywood types. They implored the Republican electors who were supposed to go on January 6th to certify the election. They implored them to vote for somebody other than Donald Trump, so that it would be a brokered election in the House of Representatives.
Okay. So did the process actually happen?
So listen to what happened. Kamala Harris basically said that I want to debate Donald Trump on ABC. Donald Trump said no, I'm not going to be doing it. And the reason why he said no is because she was not
the candidate.
She was not the candidate.
Right.
So he's not going to debate somebody that's not the Democratic candidate that he's going to be running against. Then when the delegates actually nominated her and they said, all right, you are now officially...
Yeah, they pledged. They said, we pledged to do her.
Yeah, so you are now officially the Democratic candidate. Then Trump came out and said, all right, now I will debate you. That's when she pulled out.
My question is, when she has a terrible performance of word salad, What are they going to do then? Are they going to yank her as well?
No, they can't at that point. They got to basically ride out the storm.
You don't know.
Because she was number 6. She was ranked 6th in the 2020 Democratic.
6th?
Yeah, she
no,
was 6th.
we're lower than that.
She had 1% of the votes.
She was ranked number 6.
She had 1% of the votes.
Okay, this is okay.
I think number 2 is Bernie. Number 1 was Joe Biden. Number 3 may have been either Klobuchar or Mayor Pete. Actually, no. Maybe she may have been 6.
No, she was 6th.
I remember 1%.
No, she was ranked number 6. This is what again. If I'm wrong, again, so
she pulled out before she ever got any votes in the Iowa caucus.
Yeah. So the individuals that pulled out literally on December 3rd of 2019 is when she pulled out. Okay, that's when she pulled out. Not physically, by the way. That's Mike. That's Mike, Big Mike. But anyways,
really? Yeah.
the candidates that pulled out right after her, Michael Bloomberg, that was on March 4th. What is his last name?
Walz.
Huh?
Ooh, the VP candidate? Or?
No. I'm talking about 2020. So it was Bloomberg and a couple of other candidates that basically pulled out right after her. So she was actually number 6 in line. So how does somebody who was 6th all of a sudden become the most popular candidate for?
Who else?
Because that's who the party bosses want.
Who else?
Well, because the candidates get the money, right? The Joe Biden's donations. Doesn't that go straight to the VP?
Yeah, they do. They actually they stopped spending the money because they knew that he was going to be replaced.
Plus, well, who are they going to replace him with? Newsom? I mean,
no, that's in 2028.
Yeah, I know they've been prepping that guy.
Yeah, that's in 2028. But I don't know.
The guy's cleaning up homeless camp.
Yeah. What are your thoughts? Do you think Kamala actually has a shot at it?
I mean, she is being shielded by the news media, same as Joe Biden was being shielded by the news media. And when she comes out and has an ad lib performance that is not scripted, if she does well, then I think she will do well. But if she does poorly, I mean, she managed to land a punch on Joe Biden with that whole, I got bused to school, you voted against me getting bused to school thing, right? So she's capable of it if she prepares. But from what I've read, she is recalcitrant to preparing because I guess she thinks that she already knows. But, it remains to be seen.
What is their famous quote, Joe?
Which one? Oh, that's
if we are to be unburdened,
burdened by what has been or whatever.
But my favorite is today is yesterday's tomorrow.
Today is yesterday.
Tomorrow
and
is,
yesterday was tomorrow.
Tomorrow is Thursday's Wednesday, and next week at 5.
And if you eat pizza today,
did you see her crowd though?
So
did you see the crowd?
Okay, you're talking about her cackle. You're talking about what she's saying. You're talking about the crowd. I was with Larry Elder today, and he brought up a very good point. He says people are spending, on average, $1,400 more per month than they were 3.5 years ago. We are paying the highest gas taxes in California than they were. Nobody cares about her cackle. Nobody cares about her, dating Willie Brown. Everybody cares about their pocketbook. So if anybody is going to be a better candidate than her and is going to sell themselves to the people, the messaging needs to be what is illing the people from day to day. And that is their pocketbook. That is the crime that they face. That's all the homeless people that they see that they have to step over. That's all the illegal immigrants who are getting the free health care and the $600 per month debit cards for free that they're not getting.
You don't think Trump's targeting that?
If he is, his messaging is inefficient, right? And he needs to package himself. He needs to sell himself better.
I don't think it's inefficient, Alex. It's just that you think CNN is going to broadcast it, MSNBC is going to, ABC, NBC, who's going to broadcast it? Of course, that's why he goes to Elon Musk, Twitter. Now, he's back on X, right? He's got Truth Social. He's got, even when he was being convicted of a crime, when he had 45 seconds to speak to the media, he was campaigning for those 45 seconds.
Yeah,
wasn't discussing anything about the case.
Again, I'm not running his campaign.
No, because he gets no news time.
Yep,
his news time is about rape allegations and when he put a quarter into the gumball machine in 1978, but got 2 bubble gums instead of 1, and he didn't report it. That's what the guy's being convicted of. Of course, he's gonna. So that's the thing. If there was an equal balance of coverage, and okay, you know what? Let's even when it comes to late night, right? You know, the Jimmy Kimmels and these fucking schmucks that just now they started bashing Biden the last couple of months because they knew he was getting kicked out.
Right.
Right. Prior to that, he was their god. And now all of a sudden Biden is a schmuck.
I don't disagree with you because we in our campaign have had trouble getting coverage. It's not that we get negative coverage, we get no coverage.
Yeah.
And they throw softballs. They do these fluff pieces on Laura Friedman, and they get to pass it not because they're going over a candidate, but they're going over who the current elected official is. So I totally get it. There is a bias, yes. And I'm not running his campaign, but if I had the airtime that he had, I would try to use it more efficiently and just target my message differently. That's all.
Yeah. Well, Kamala Harris now has a VP assigned to her. Well, that she picked. That was assigned. I say assigned to her because I know they're running it from up top. But anyways,
Tampon Tim. Tim Walz.
Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, who's prominently known for being a very, what does it say on your shirt again? Progressive?
Yes.
No, it says Congress. Oh, I thought you were wearing the other one.
Progressive isn't working.
Yeah, progressive, very progressive governor.
Yeah.
He's pro BLM. He advocated for gender transitioning procedures on minors. He supports defunding the police. He supports late term abortions, and he encouraged us during COVID times to snitch on our neighbors. There was actually a hotline for that as well. So this is as progressive as it gets. And now he wants to bring his progressive bullshit from Minnesota to the White House. He's a very, very dangerous individual. In my opinion, I think it was probably Kamala Harris would have been better picking Josh Shapiro rather than this guy. This guy might be the downfall of her campaign. But again, we don't know where the United States and the progressives' heads are. Will they be harvesting ballots and stealing the collection? Nobody knows. But that's who Tim Walz is, ladies and gentlemen. More and more information will be dropped about this guy. But, if you want somebody who's super left, super progressive, who actually passed a bill in the state of Minnesota stating that if you were to enter the state of Minnesota as a minor and want to transition, and if your parents or legal guardians are against it, they can actually be thrown in jail and can be prosecuted for it. These are like this guy is as crazy as it gets.
And as a high school teacher, he started his high school's first gender alliance, I'm an ally kind of club.
Yes.
So again, you're talking with minors about their sexuality and you're keeping it from the parents. It's one thing to be supportive and it's another thing to be secretive.
Yeah.
And that is not okay.
And if you want to look up this executive order, it's Executive Order 2313. And this is in the state of Minnesota. So if little Bobby wants to go to Minnesota against it's against parental rights and against his parents' wishes to go to Minnesota and get a sex change operation. And we're not talking about, Bobby dressing as a girl. We're talking about full on transgenderism. And his parents go to Minnesota to take their child back. His parents can get in trouble. I mean, it sounds like California, but this is in the state of Minnesota. And this is the guy who's basically running for VP. Tim Walz.
Yeah, I just keep on wondering, how did we get here, man? Like, I don't know how we got here where we're not actually discussing issues that are important to our day-to-day lives, where we're discussing whether a 9-year-old or 12-year-old kid can go to a doctor and get hormonal treatments and change the trajectory of his or her life because it's irreversible. As a physician, I mean, if you castrate yourself, taking those drugs, our hormones control pretty much everything throughout the rest of our lives, right? It determines our everything from cardiovascular to, kidney health, liver, everything is determined by, a big majority is determined by your hormones and how your pituitary gland, right, transfers that information. And if you alter all that stuff, then what are you? I mean,
I try to be as evidence-based as I can with everything. And so there are 0 high-quality clinical trials that examine irreversible medical and surgical therapy in children with gender dysphoria versus simple talk therapy when you look at outcomes of suicide or quality of life with depression. We have very good, large-scale, long-term observational studies from Germany and the Netherlands that show that roughly 95% of children with gender dysphoria outgrow that gender dysphoria by the time they are adults. Almost all of them end up being gay kids turning into gay adults. And that handful of people who remain with gender dysphoria end up being lesbians with coexisting mental illness, depression, or anxiety disorder. So what we see is that for every one child that turns into the adult with true gender dysphoria, there will be 19 children who have it as a temporary phase who outgrow it and eventually end up being gay adults. So my whole thing, my opponent likes to paint me as anti-trans and demonizing trans children. I am actually a physician who is anti-misdiagnosis. I am a physician who's trying to protect those 19 gay kids, that effeminate gay boy and that tomboy girl. I'm trying to protect them from being misdiagnosed and told that they're born in the wrong body. So the effeminate gay boys can be effeminate gay men, and the tomboy girls can become adult lesbians. So I'm anti-misdiagnosis for those 19 kids who will be railroaded into irreversible hormone and surgical therapy. Why? Because it's fashionable now to be a trans ally.
Yeah. You know, in the medical field, if you misdiagnose somebody,
I could get sued.
Yes.
Right.
But yet with kids,
it's celebrated and encouraged.
Well, yeah. Look at Megan Fox. 3 of her kids are trans.
Yeah,
it's like
100%.
The odds of that, I mean,
She's like she won the lottery 3 times.
No, it's like Louboutin shoes, a Birkin bag, and a trans child. It's the 21st century accessory.
It's a new thing. It's what's in.
Oh, geez, that was a good one.
Seriously, bro.
Not to laugh, obviously.
No, but honestly,
it's sad. It's sad.
Because look, even what I do, right? I'm dealing with terminal illness. If I misdiagnose them terminally, I mean, you're gonna die anyways. Right? Who gives a fuck? No, I could get sued. Whatever Medicare has paid me, I have to pay him back if there's a misdiagnosis. But an 8-year-old kid, fuck it, let's misdiagnose them, turn them into depressed adults who have no idea who they are, who they belong, where
That's
they belong.
why I don't call these physicians, these I don't even call them physicians, I call them medical activists. Because as a physician, as a medical practitioner, I need to practice evidence-based medicine. I need to provide standard of care that is based on evidence. And if there is no evidence, either you do the studies to create that evidence, or you say, we don't know, let's try to act in whatever way is least, has the least side effects. But these people, they're not physicians, they are medical activists who have an agenda. They have no evidence, and it's all agenda.
And what's the oath that you take as a physician?
Number 1, do no harm. And number 2, patient autonomy shall not be violated, which is another reason why, although I support vaccines are great, I do not support vaccine mandates because that takes away somebody's bodily autonomy, takes away their choice.
Right.
It's incumbent upon me as a physician to explain risks and benefits of something. And I, as a card-carrying Duke Major Republican, believe in personal responsibility and individualism. And if you, based on my discussions, want to not take a vaccine for yourself or for your child, and you are willing to own up to your decision, live with those consequences, great. That is all for you. But it is not up to me to take away your medical decision making.
That's why you need to vote for this man.
Amen.
Choice.
Absolutely.
Versus my opponent, Laura Friedman, wrote a bill to mandate the HPV vaccine for all girls ages 8 through 11 in California, wanted Glendale Unified to mandate the COVID vaccine for all teachers while she owned Pfizer stock.
Ooh.
Right? How exactly is that? So this woman is a threat to this lady is a threat to safety, personal safety.
You know how many physicians, MPs I've talked to over the years dealt with young women who had the HPV vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
We had to have a hysterectomy because of the vaccine. What it caused was foaming in the mouth and basically seizures and all this other, where the only solution was hysterectomy.
That's so sad.
Remove the uterus and then she'll be fine. So now a 17-year-old girl, let's remove the uterus. Obviously, zero chance of becoming a mother.
Yeah.
Why? Because you pushed the HPV vaccine.
See, Alex was basically saying it's all about choice. Listen, you want to go get a vaccine, you want to go do whatever it is, inject whatever it is inside of you, by all means, go do it. It's a choice. But when people start mandating shit, that's when we begin to push back.
But it's not just that. So right now, politicians, for example, this was news to me when my sister told me. She says, my niece, her daughter, she said, I want to spread out all her vaccines that she's getting because I don't want her to get all at the same time. And I was like, what vaccines is she getting? She says, well, Hep B, she's getting her second shot. I said, why is she getting Hep B? And then she says, oh, she needs it for school. I said, why does she need a Hep B for school? I was completely oblivious to this. Me, as a medical student, I deal with blood, right? Needle sticks. So I am at risk for getting Hep B. So I had to get the Hep B vaccine when I was in medical school because they said you can't be around patients, needle sticks. I totally get it, right? I'm high risk. Unless you're a sex worker or an IV drug user, you are not at risk for developing hepatitis B. Right? So, and I told her, I said, why are they giving? They said, oh yeah, the first shot she got before she went home from the hospital. I said, this was completely oblivious. I was oblivious.
Didn't know that?
Had zero clue.
Are you serious?
Okay. Had zero clue this was happening. But that's not what gets my gears. So not only are these politicians mandating these vaccines on these children, but if you are that unlucky 1 in a million who gets the bad outcome of the vaccine, you are also prevented from suing the vaccine maker for bodily harm.
They're immune, of course.
Right. So if your child is that 1 in a million that gets the bad outcome, you cannot get those medical bills paid for.
It's not even 1 in a million anymore. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's much higher than that.
So those are some of the laws that I would say, okay, me as a physician, me as a public health researcher, let's see, okay, what are the risks and benefits? And again, it is not up to me to take away somebody's autonomy and decision making. And I think a lot of people have lost faith in their governments because they think a lot of the policies are not for the greater good of the people, but for the greater good of the corporations and the stock prices. Yeah. And so I would want to go back and revisit all of those and actually say, look, I would prefer as a physician to counsel these people and say, this is why you should get this vaccine. And if you want to gamble with your child and not get the polio vaccine, I've never taken care of a child on an iron lung. I hope I never have to. I've taken care of somebody with Guillain-Barré syndrome, which can be a side effect, one of that 1 in a million from vaccines. Okay. So I've taken care of somebody with Guillain-Barré syndrome. It is not pleasant, especially if you don't recover, because you will be connected to machines for the rest of your life. But I will tell people with their kids, listen, I've never taken care of a kid in an iron lung because of polio. If you want to take that gamble with your kid, by all means, do so. I don't recommend you do it. I wouldn't do it if I had a kid. But if that's your choice and you want to live up to it, fine. But that's their choice. That should be their choice.
Yeah.
You wanted to share the happy, funny story.
So we'll end the show on this note.
Before you end the show, I want to show Kamala Harris's campaign on the moon.
All right, we'll do that as well. So let me tell you this happy show.
People over there.
I mean, I can show you. It's 10 seconds.
Give it. Let us say the story, and we'll end on that note. But so this guy pulled something off when his son was born.
His foreskin. What? Sorry.
Alex, you're bad, bro. You're bad.
So
first you call me gay, and now foreskin.
So a doctor, one of the physicians actually recommended his son get the Hep B shot.
Yeah.
And he asked the doctor, why, his son should get an Hep B shot.
I agree.
The same thing happened with my son as well, and I took his advice on it. So I piggybacked on what he said. So the doctor came in, asked, well, I recommend you give your son a Hep B shot
because he's a sex worker.
And I said, well, doctor, and this is coming from our moon story. How does one get hepatitis B?
Exactly.
He said, well, normally it's done through blood or a needle or something like that. I said, is there any other way? Well, it's sexually transmitted as well. I said, well, I didn't think my 2-day-old was going to be having sex anytime soon. The doctor basically said, all right, I think we're done here.
And so, and there's, I completely agree. There's vertical transmission from a mother to a child that occurs during birth. But again, you don't give the hepatitis B vaccine. You give the essentially the not the antivenom, the antivirus, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's mind-boggling to me when this actually entered the national or the state lexicon that it had to be mandated, because children aren't drug users and sex workers. They are low risk in the United States. I'm not talking about sub-Saharan Africa or Southeast Asia, where vertical transmission is common.
Yes.
In the United States, this doesn't happen.
There you go. Joe, do you want to play Kamala Harris?
Yeah, sure. Near
Kamala.
this is
Okay, Kamala.
This is camel toe on the moon.
To the moon, trying to get to you.
I know everyone's gonna say it's AI. Come on, guys.
It's not.
No, it's not
real.
AI. It's real. It's real.
It's real.
Guys, today's show was brought to you by Armand Grigorian, the law offices of Armand Grigorian. If you've been involved in a car accident and you need the proper attorney to represent you, reach out to Armand Grigorian and his law offices, 818-404-0333. That is his direct
Put
cell
it in your favor,
number.
especially if you're driving in Glendale with all these bike lanes. God forbid you're going to need him.
Hell, you could reach out to him if you're a bicyclist and you get hit by a possible crazy driver. Reach out to Armand. Talk to him. Again, his cell phone number, 818-404-0333, the law offices of Armand Grigorian. Thank you so much for sponsoring today's show. Also, the boys at the Glen Arden, we want to thank you guys for providing the space for us. If you are interested in a club membership at the Glen Arden, reach out to us. Reach out to Joe, Armand, myself, the Wise Nuts page, and we'll connect you to the boys, and we'll help you guys.
No, this is truly an old school gentleman's club. If you want to have a nice cigar, nice scotch, network, sit down, have a conversation with old school developers in Glendale, you want to ask them, look, in 1928, and then you may be sitting down with somebody who says, yeah, in 1943, I bought that building. We got the zoning clearance. We built it. Now it's Americana. You're like, oh, you fucking did all that? Yeah. Seriously, they come here. Those are the type of people that come here. You don't got the schmuck who's smoking hookah.
Don't say a name.
Yeah.
Can I come here in my papujas?
I do.
You do. Okay.
Here, look. Take a look. I was hiding it this entire time.
I swear to God, Joe did not. We set up that camera for no reason, basically.
I just didn't use that camera whatsoever.
Pedicure today for the show. Why you give me a hard time?
Oh, jeez.
I'm not like you. I don't.
Guys, today's show will be up and running on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all major platforms mañana. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you guys. We missed every single one of you.
Was Levy on tonight?
I have no idea.
Can I get one final plug in?
Go ahead.
If everybody can just go to our website, alexforca30.com or alexbalikian.com. It'll take you to there. If you want to request a lawn sign, please do so. Again, we want some volunteers for phone banking, and any contribution that you can make, whatever small or big contribution you make, all of the lawn signs, all of the flyers that you see, it all helps out. The billboards that you see definitely helps us out. We have 84 days left until the election, so any help you can give would be well appreciated.
Guys, if you haven't registered to vote, register to vote. November 5th is right around the corner. You blink, it's going to be right in front of you. Hopefully we'll have you back before November 5th to continue to just...
I would love to be on a show with you bigots again.
Especially this gay guy. But we got to help with phone calls and whatever we got to do. Seriously. Like, I don't mind... Yeah.
Especially with this sexy voice.
I don't mind. I don't mind helping out, calling the older women in Glendale. Oh,
jeez. Guys, have a great week. Have a great weekend. We'll see you all next Monday.